Good morning, good evening, and good day. Welcome to the Z2Z podcast, home of Xbox Achievement Hunters and Gamerscore Junkies. I am your host, Brandon Freeman. Thank you so much for listening. At Z2Z, we love gaming, and in particular, grabbing achievements and gaining Gamerscore. We do news, reviews, interviews. If it's about achievements, we'll unlock it. This week, we're going to cover a recap of 2015 and what we want to see for 2016, as well as our personal goals for the upcoming year. We'll take a journey to Middle-earth for some achievement tips and introduce the new Gamerscore Bootcamp segment. And is it possible to unlock Xbox Fitness achievements without even breaking a sweat or lifting a finger? As always, you can find our show notes for this show, as well as previous shows, on our website, z2z.com. This is episode 3. You can also contact us with any questions or comments at Twitter at Z2Z, that's Z-E-D-T-O-Z-E-D, or you can email us directly at contact@z2z.com. Today's show is brought to you by the achievement Pure Poker from the game Pure Hold'em, found on the Xbox One. This achievement requires you to unlock level 100 in the game, which seems like a pretty standard level grind. But the way that progression works in this game is that it's going to take you over 10,000 hours to get this thing completed. To put that in perspective, if you plugged in a turbo controller and played it for 24 hours a day, that's going to take you 416 days. Just over 14 months. Even going from level 99 to 100 alone is going to take you over 1,000 hours. Let's add in the fact that the game has stability issues. Yeah, pretty dicey. As of recording, nobody has unlocked this achievement, and given that the game's only been out for about 4 months, we don't expect anyone to be unlocking it anytime soon. So a special thanks to the developer Vufu Studios and publisher Ripstone for that monstrosity of an achievement. And if you have any suggestions, our listeners, anybody who wants to hear an achievement sponsor this show, be it incredibly difficult, really funny, or a joke of an achievement that's super easy, we'd love to hear your suggestions. Again, you can get us at Twitter at Z2Z, at Z-E-D-T-O-Z-E-D, or email us at contact@z2z.com. So with that said, let's get this show started with a quick recap of what we've been playing, but first let me introduce my co-hosts. Today I am joined by Terrigan. How are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. But Brandon, I have a problem.
Oh dear, what's that?
I've been tracking my games for the last few months through the True Achievements website. They have a games collection feature, and every month I've been basically exporting my games off there just to kind of keep it feel for what I'm adding. And I went through and I had a look at the last month's or the last few months worth of games and how many games I've actually added to my gamer tag or to my collection. And I've noticed a bit of an issue. So do you want to take a stab at how many games I added to my collection in December?
Let's see. You celebrate Christmas in Australia,
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bunch of sales, so I'm going to say 30.
All right. Well, firstly, before I go into the figures, let me just say that December, as far as actual games added to my account, it wasn't actually an out-of-the-ordinary month. So take that into account.
Oh, dear.
Right. I added 60 games to my collection in December.
Goodness gracious, that's 2 games a day.
Yeah.
You do have a problem.
Yeah, I do. And I look back, I've been tracking my stats since September, and since then I've added 180 games to my collection. So I'm averaging 60 games a month added to my tag, which is just ridiculous. So yeah, I have a problem.
It's pretty easy with all that shovelware out there these days.
There you have it. And that's our third co-host. We'll introduce him now. It's Crandy. How are you doing today,
Hello.
sir?
I'm doing all right.
Are you adding 60-plus games to your account every month? I
am not. I have a lot of games that I haven't played, but recently I've kind of slowed down a bit. I got a lot of the stuff that I wanted, and there hasn't been that much lately, but not quite that many. I do have a bit of a problem, though. I think my collection's at somewhere around 900 to 1,000 games at this point, with less than a third of them on my tag. So
yeah,
maybe
gross.
Maybe one day I'll get there.
I hate when I do it, and it's like you see the new games with gold, and it's so like this month, right, for January, Dirt Showdown. It's like, Oh man, I really don't like racing games, and I don't like fighting games. But now I own Killer Instinct and Dirt Showdown, and now that just adds to my pool of games I don't really want to play.
See, I'm kind of intimidated by Killer Instinct in general with its 300 achievements or whatever, but I am looking forward to playing Killer Instinct Classic. I really enjoyed Killer Instinct 2 in Rare Replay, and Killer Instinct Classic was one I even considered buying the Ultra bundle for. So I'm glad that's included, and I think I'll probably play that one, but as far as the base Killer Instinct goes, it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah, well, an interesting thing about the number of games that I add to my account, as you probably know, I started a Bean Dive back with the Bean Dive for 2015. The Bean Dive, of course, is the yearly challenge on True Achievements where you go through your backlog and try and add them to your tag by unlocking an achievement in it. So I actually recently finished off my Bean Dive that I started way back in July. And during that time, I had added 161 games to my tag. And funnily enough, about a week later, I managed to actually completely wrap up my dive, as in I recovered the percentage that I'd lost during the dive. So
I actually saw that post on my friend feed.
Yeah, and I was kind of wondering how and so not only am I playing a lot of games, but I'm also unlocking a lot of achievements, apparently. So I just caught it all the way up. And that's including, I actually dropped Project Spark, both the Windows 8 and Xbox One versions onto my tag to keep my Bean Dive, intact, because I was almost at the point where if I finished the Bean Dive, it would automatically finish because I'd already caught up on the completion drop. So I was a bit surprised about that. I'm actually going to query it, but I play a lot of games, obviously.
Well, with that being said, what have you been playing in the past couple of weeks since we've last heard from you?
Jesus. Do you? If I went through everything there, I think we'd be here all night. So I couldn't tell you. There's at least 50 odd games that I've played in the last few weeks. Basically because I've been working on my end of year goals.
That's right.
Last show we talked about our end of year goals, and I had a bit of a stretch goal. I was sitting at about 265,000 gamer score, and I wanted to reach 275. I actually managed to achieve that. I think it was the day after Christmas. And I've also reached my other goals that I had, which was 400,000 True Achievement score and 1,000 games played. Incidentally, I chose carefully my 1,000th game, and I went way back into the archives and looked at some of the really old early games that were available for the Xbox 360, and one of those was Quake 2, which was actually released as part of the Quake 4 bundle as a bonus disc. And I kind of liked that because it was a very early release, so it's one of the sort of harking back to the beginnings of Gamerscore, and also because it happens to be one of the early games that has 0 Gamerscore. So I kind of like that. I kind of like that irony. So just going back, again, I won't go through all of the games that I've played since our last show because it's just a ridiculous amount of games that I went through, a lot of shovelware. But I earned about 10,000 gamer score in December alone, and also peaked over 75,000 gamer score for the year of 2015, which I think is my best year yet.
That's fantastic. I love hearing that. Crandy, can you hold a candle to Terrigan there?
I don't think so. Well, both of us have been playing BioShock Korea. We got a hold of some Korean DLC, and we're going to finish that one off eventually. I still haven't finished Gra, so I've been working on that a little bit.
I thought this was going to be the week.
Yeah, wow.
No,
I was really
not yet. I started Big Buck Hunter Pro Adventure on Windows 8. That one's it's okay. I completed.
So you say that with such conviction. It's okay.
Yeah, I mean it's a Windows 8 game. It's not freemium mostly. I mean, like the game was like $2.99 or something. It pushes DLC that has no achievements, but other than that, it's pretty fair. So it's kind of better of Windows 8, but still not great. I started.
Is there like a peripheral? I mean, how do you do the shooting?
You can use a touchscreen and tap, but I play on my laptop, and you just use a mouse, and you move the crosshairs that are really inaccurate. So like it doesn't fire in the middle. It's really weird, and it makes it much harder than it should be.
That's fantastic.
I also started and completed Carnivale Showtime on PC. That was quite fun. I really recommend that game on both. I mean, you can't really get it on PC anymore, but Windows Phone, it's pretty fun. It's a bit of a challenge, but it's a weird game, and I've played nothing like it before, but it's very fun. I made some progress on Universe at War that I've been picking away at for a long time, and also made a little bit of progress.
That sounds like Graw. Is that sure that's not the same game?
Universe at War is much easier than Gra.
Okay.
Well, only got 2 achievements left in that, so I'll be finishing that one off soon. And made some progress on Juice 2 on the PC, which will forever keep my Games Windows Live completion percentage at less than 100% because it's a glitchy, buggy mess. But
is that the one? I thought achievements couldn't actually even unlock in that game.
No, they can.
Or is it just some?
You have to work around. Every time you unlock an achievement, you have to go and delete an achievement cache file before it'll unlock a new achievement. So if it repopulates the temporary part of that cache, it won't unlock achievements. So every time you pop an achievement, you have to go back and delete it and then relaunch the game and then unlock your next achievement, repeat. So basically what you have to do is you have to make tons and tons of save backups in case something goes wrong. And then it's a mess. The online achievements are all discontinued. The servers are still there. All the functionality is still there. Just something broke and they don't work. They just don't work.
Wow, that's messed up.
So
yeah,
it's a mess.
Joke of a game, really.
Yeah, it's a fun game. Like, I don't really like racing games, and it's pretty fun. It's kind of more of a drifting game. It's not really realistic. It doesn't take itself too seriously. So it's kind of fun in that way, but it's a mess.
It doesn't take its achievements seriously too, either.
No, unfortunately not. But yeah, that was it for me since I guess that's a little bit over a week. But yeah. So that's it for me.
Sure.
What were your stats for the year?
Oh, my stats for the year. I unlocked 1,367 achievements, 29,479 gamer score, worth 78,409 true achievement points, ratio of 2.66, 82 games played, 48 games completed. I was really disappointed in myself at the number of games that I started and didn't complete. I didn't think I started that many games this year. And because my goal is to get rid of games off my tag, not start more than I completed. So that's unfortunate, but it's kind of a side effect of Gra, I suppose. When you have a good boosting opportunity that comes up, you got to take it. Finish the single player later. At least that's what I tell myself.
There you go. We have a lot of games like that where it's, I'll get back to that at some point. I mean, I got 300 some games to get to first, but I'll get there.
I just keep blaming it on Gra. I say, yeah, no, I'll finish it after. It's after Gra. I want to play that game after Gra. I'll finish that game after Gra. We'll see what happens when Gra eventually ends. Maybe
it'll never end.
If it ever ends.
I'm not entirely sure.
I'll just keep using that excuse.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Like
so
I didn't get a new job. I had to finish Gra.
Exactly. I'll get a job after I finish Gra. I'm this close. I'm so close. What about you, Brandon?
So,
what did you play?
Yeah, you were talking about Big Buck Hunter, and so actually, my brother he was the 2013 world champion of Buck Hunter on the arcade machines. He used to work at a bar that had those, and so it would just continuously play for free. And he kept getting invited, and he would finish in the top 10 or whatever. But in 2013, he took the whole thing down. Like, you can find marketing videos out there with him in it. And he gets invited back every year. So this year it was in Chicago. We got to watch him on Twitch. I think he got knocked out in he got third or fourth. But like, he missed one piece of plywood he had to shoot. And like, that was the difference of the guy moving on to the championship and him not, but like, I think he's earned like $60,000 in that game. Like, in real world money, in prize money.
That's pretty impressive. I would not pin that game as like a competitive, like for real competitive kind of game.
No, it's crazy. It's totally crazy. Yeah, it's intense. Anyway, cool. So actual games that I've played. So I played this past couple of weeks. I finally finished Axel and Pixel, the point-and-click adventure of the French painter who mumbles and his dog. Look, if you're going to play that game, follow the TA walkthrough. It is not terribly fun. It's only 200 gamer score, 12 achievements. It's the old XBLA games. And the mini games in that thing are awful. They do not control well. They're a huge pain in the butt. But relatively easy completion if you can manage to get yourself through the wonky, buggy mess that is the mini games. Got into a boosting session for Far Cry 3 co-op. That actually is pretty fun. I'm surprised they didn't do more with that as far as, like, I appreciate, because I don't like multiplayer achievements that much, but just finishing the 6 maps was all you needed. But they really have a pretty in-depth system, and they made it pretty fun to run through, you know, a little co-op campaign that's separate from the story of Far Cry 3. So finish those off. My son and I have been playing a ton of Rayman Legends. We're just finally getting to that point where we just got to start grinding out the last. I think I have like 100 teensies left, and I mean, let's not talk about the million looms that you need to get. That's just a god awful mess that you have to get up to. But you know, he is just so much fun to play with these platformers now that he's figured it out.
I love that Rayman Legends. I did that. I completed it twice. Really great game. Really hope another game like that comes along. I
totally agree. And actually, I've been playing they have a phone version now, Rayman Adventures on the phone. Now, there's no achievements or anything that I know of. I use an Android. And it's all like, it's essentially Rayman, but you got to get past the fact that you're just doing a touch screen and it's an endless runner, essentially.
So is that like Jungle Run and Fiesta Run?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, those were great too.
There's a Lara Croft version as well, Endless Runner.
Right. I went back and visited Super Time Force. This is one of those games that everyone I talk to, it's really polarizing. So you get people who they absolutely hate it or they love it, and I'm on the camp that loves it. I think aside from, you know, the graphics being, you know, the simplified version of graphics, it's the gameplay mechanic is just a chaotic nightmare. Now I think going back and trying to like clean it up is going to be a pain, where you have to get all the glorbs and whatever's floating around out there. That's going to be a pain, but just to play through where you get to move the time, and then when you finish the level and they play it back in real time and you see like your little character split into 5 different people because you kept screwing something up or you needed more firepower. Like I just think that's really cool, seeing all those effects kind of mashed into one level. So I finished the story, you know, played through every level once. Now, of course, you have to replay levels all the time to go back and get the glorbs. You have to replay the levels to go get any of the missing characters that you forgot to pick up. And you know, there's a ton of collectibles in that game. And then they went and added that ultra patch to it, which added even more to do. But I really like that game. And then the last thing I will mention is, so Shadow of Mordor. I absolutely love this game, and I've been playing it for quite some time now, and finally completed the base game. So what I'm going to say about the base game is I knew you'd be able to play after completing the main story, but I kind of used the main story as like, I'll go and get that last achievement, you know, to kind of just close out the story. I don't need to revisit the worlds or anything, so I'll do everything up until that point, which is great. I mean, if you played the game, it's so fun. The last story, the boss at the end there, and I won't spoil anything for anybody, super disappointing. It does not. So if as my recommendation, go and just finish the story, go back and revisit and play and kill all the war chiefs and do all that stuff. That is way more rewarding than anything you're going to get out of the story arc.
See, that reminds me of one. It wasn't on Xbox. It was on the only time I played a PS3 was Demon Souls. The final boss of Demon Souls was horribly disappointing. I'll probably save the story for another time because it's like a whole story of why it was so disappointing. But it just reminded me of that. And anybody that's played the game will probably know that that it's horribly
what you're referring to.
Yeah.
That seems to be a common complaint with many games, actually. That the final sort of boss or the final confrontation is actually a bit of a non-event, or is just, a bit disappointing. I think people had the same kind of criticism of Batman Arkham Asylum. The final sort of Joker battle at the end of that was just a bit like, meh. Rest of the game, awesome. The last battle, yeah.
Well, like the thing with Demon's Souls is it's presented like up until you get there as, it's a whole game. I mean, if you play Dark Souls, it's the same. Everything's the same basically, and everything's hard. Everything's brutally difficult, and then the final boss doesn't even fight back. you just kill it, and it doesn't fight back. And so when I got there, I was like, "What is this?" I was expecting
you thought you were being tricked, right?
Well, exactly. Like that was the thing. I thought I was getting tricked, and no, it doesn't fight back. It just it's like a thing that just follows you, and you just kill it and win. It's really weird, super weird.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I'm not necessarily one for saying like I need, a boss to have 6 different phases and like just be brutally difficult, but like, please do not end on a QTE, a QuickTime event ending. That does not do it for me.
Yeah.
If I'm punching boulders or whatever, come on, that's not the type of ending. Give me something that pushes my skill. What I've trained the entire game to do. Make it worth my time.
Yeah, Batman Arkham Origins actually had basically a QuickTime event for the final battle, which was very disappointing. It's kind of like the battle before that was the real final battle, and then you get to the end bit with, I won't spoil the end, but you get to the end bit with the person you have to fight, and it's basically just QuickTime event.
Yeah.
Well,
terrible.
Fable 2 also had about 30 to 45 minutes between like the last combat that you'll see and then like the final boss that isn't a boss, it's just a choice or something. I kind of vaguely remember that too as being kind of ridiculous. It's even worse than that because you have so long in between.
And you have to repeat that, I imagine, to get the 2 sides of that choice.
Oh yeah, you have to
repeat
3
sides.
Three times. There's 3 choices.
Okay.
Just repeat the whole
three
game.
Choices.
Yeah.
Yep. I remember that. That sucked. So the other thing is, base game completed, Shadow Mordor. I've started the Lord of the Hunt DLC, and so this takes place essentially significantly after the events of the game. Torvin has a fantastic beard now, and he goes and Talion has a beard.
But beard? Spoilers? Jeez.
Yeah.
I
Huge
didn't know he
beard.
had a beard. Wow.
Because he goes and hangs out with Torvind, the dwarf.
Right.
And so they go and party back in Uladan, or I think it is, or wherever. Doesn't matter. And all these new beast chiefs come in. And I just jumped right into that. And so I'd been playing, like I was used to the gameplay mechanics and stuff, but they take away a lot. They take away all your runes and things on your weapons. You keep your levels, so you have all your abilities, but you don't have your juiced up weapons. I got the crap beat out of me for like the first 10, 15 minutes. I was like, oh, I'll just take down this stronghold, no problem. And they just abused me. There was one war chief in particular who was his setup for abilities like makes it so you can't really get near him, and if he ever downs you, you're automatically dead. It's like, so all these war chiefs kept getting promoted around him, and I'm like, oh my god, what's wrong with this guy? There is a little secret to killing that dude. I'll let you figure that out because it was kind of fun to do. But the DLC in and of itself, it's really pretty short. It's only a couple hours to go through the story. But let me give you a recommendation, because I missed 2 achievements on my way through, which I'm going to do as a public service announcement here, because not that it was long to go back through, but like they set it up perfectly for you during the campaign, the DLC campaign. And if you weren't thinking about it, you can't go back and replay those events without starting over again. So the 2 that I missed, there is a point where you are, the achievement is dispatching a Graug, the big giant monster guy, with little ghouls under your control. This there's a quest that you get at toward the very end where you can actually control these ghouls, and once you learn that ability, they're like, hey, there's a Graug over there, go take him out. And so I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I'll just let the ghouls kill him. That's not what the achievement means. The achievement means when you knock the Graug down and the ghouls pile on top of him, you push down on your D-pad, and that causes all the ghouls to explode. And you need to blow the Graug up with your ghouls. That's how you get the achievement. So you'll know when you get that opportunity to do it, you make sure you hit down and you probably want to get him to about 1/3 of his remaining hit points. There'll be a life bar above him. Get it to about 1/3, stun him, and then the ghouls pile on and blow them all up. You don't want to miss that one. The other one...
Oh, is that the Ghouls Gone Wild?
Ghouls Gone Wild, that's right. Isn't that on your to-do list?
Yeah, it is. That's one of the ones I need to get, so I'll take that advice. Thanks.
Yeah, do that. It's presented perfectly in the story, and you'll know. I mean, it's very clear, like, that's how it's done. Now, technically, you can do it in the overworld map. It is really, really a pain in the butt to get that many ghouls on your side and to get a Graug that's going to behave with you, because there's orcs usually around you. The other one that you can do in the overworld map, but it's a huge pain, and you should do it during the final the last war chief you fight. And the achievement is having control of a Spitter Ghoul, a Karagath, and a Wretched Graug. So you have all three under your control as branded animals. So after you go and you find the last war chief and you get him into the open battle, you will have all these ghouls rushing you. So brand the ghouls, and you're running around fighting the war chief. Then these Karagaths show up, shadow mount one of those, and hopefully all your ghouls haven't died by this point. And then it's just like so fortuitous, but every time I've played, so I've done this 3 times, a Graug shows up from the field just next to you. And so just shadow mount that Graug, and boom, the achievement pops right away, right before. And tell you the truth, that Graug makes very short work of that war chief. So if you want to do that too to finish it off, that's the way to go. So those are the 2 achievements I had to go back and get, which was not a huge pain, but it was 2 hours that I much rather would have spent doing something else. And that something else is the last achievement I want to talk about in this, is the Test of the Wild, or I think the achievement's called The Hunt is My Mistress. And this is a challenge mode outside of the DLC where the goal is you've got 40 minutes, and if you're familiar with the Sauron's army, you've got 20 war chiefs, or 20 chieftains, and 5 war chiefs. In 40 minutes, you have to kill every single one of those guys, 10 of which of the chiefs have to be killed by a monster, and then you have to get a certain point threshold. So the first 2 runs I made at it embarrassingly failed. Like at 31 minutes, I still had like half the army left. I mean, it was just terrible. So I looked at TA, and TrueAchievements.com has a fantastic guide in which the key point is don't bother using the solution where you go and collect a bunch of intel. That's a huge waste of time. Go and find where the war chiefs are at. Typically, you want to find a duel or an ambush or something where you're going to have 2 war chiefs at one time, and wail on them until you have a chance to dominate them. Hold them with the R bump, where you can hold them up and then dominate them. Or if you hit them slow enough, you can get them to they have a sliver of life, and they'll submit to you, and you can dominate them then. And at that point, gain intel on one of those chiefs, or the war chiefs, and go attack him. Now, when you go attack that guy, you need to dominate a war chief, and there are 3 war chiefs that this can be done relatively easily with, and there are 2 war chiefs don't even bother because they are a huge pain. The guide mentions those, and if you're going to play the story, I won't tell you which. Well, no, I won't tell you which ones they are. look at the guide because you're going to want to play. You have to play the story first to even unlock this mode. So you'll see which two during the campaign are a huge pain in the butt. Those are the same ones in this this challenge mode. But what happens is once you get a branded war chief at that point, you then hold them and issue a command and have them start rioting against the other war chiefs. And so if you have some branded with their bodyguards who are also branded, typically they will show up to the fight with this other war chief, and he'll bring his bodyguards with him. So now you've got two war chiefs. One is yours, one is the bad guy, and maybe three bodyguards, which 3 that you have are branded and 3 that he has that are not branded. And learn the locations of the Graug baits, because then you can shoot those, shadow mount your Graug, go and eat the war chiefs that are the chieftains that your buddy brought, and then when everybody's kind of dispersing because the battle's over, go and eat your branded ones too, because they won't put up a fight. You know, they're easy pickings, and then just gobble, get off your Graug, and then pin your war chief again and tell him to go start a riot with somebody else. And so that's the easiest way to get the monster kills, is having Graugs eat them. Now, and this was so disappointing, because in my third attempt, it was just flawless. It was perfect. And I got to 38 minutes. Everybody was dead except one war chief that I had branded. And so I went to go find him, and you need 13,000 points, and I was at 10,000. And I didn't know how many points you got from killing the final war chief. So I said, okay, well, I still got 2 minutes left. So what I'll do is I'll kill this war chief and then see how many points I need to go get, and then just go mop up Urix at that point. Yeah, when you kill that last war chief, the game is over. So at 38 minutes and 2 seconds, the game ended with 11,000 points, and I needed 13,000. And I'm like, no, are you kidding me? Oh, my God, that was so dumb. So if you're doing that achievement, do not kill the last guy until you have 12,000 points, because at 12,000 points, the 1,000 points you get for killing the final guy, it puts you over the top. So that is my third and final word of advice. I have yet to finish that achievement. I've gone another 6 times, well, more than that, probably 10 more runs, and I still can't even get close. At the 40 minutes, I still got, half a dozen guys left, and I just can't get the points up there. So I had a majestic run, and I blew it. It was terrible, just terrible. So that being said, my year, I had a fantastic year in 2015. I doubled my output from 2014, which isn't saying much. I know I'm not a huge gamer score scorer, as it were, but I did get 1,362 achievements last year for 36,800 gamer score ballpark. Because I think my 2014 was like 14,000 gamer score.
That's actually much closer to the average, I guess. Well, in fact, I think the average gamer score, the average gamer score, 14,000 is actually still high, relative. I think I looked at some of the stats for average gamer score earned, and it's something like 2,000 in a year or something. So
sure.
It's still high. Relative to people on True Achievements, 36 is probably around about average, I would say.
That's kind of what I'm thinking too.
Yeah.
So you're talking about 2,000 being average over the entire Xbox Live community, not True Achievements?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. And that's, yes, we are a very special subset of gamers who 36,000 gamer score is, I look at yours, Terrigan, I would take me 3 years to get to what you did in 1 year, so it's that's okay. I'm very happy with it. Now, that being said, and we'll talk about 2016 goals, I would love to do better. But before we move into 2016 goals, let's do a quick recap of the news. Some important things, of course, achievement related, and what happened in the world. One bit of disappointing news that we got was Mastertronic filed for administration, which is bankruptcy, for those who don't know what administration is. So they're going through bankruptcy right now. Now, what that's the reason we kind of knew about it is they pulled a bunch of games from the store. They delisted a bunch of them, and specifically Spectra, the game Foul Play, Pool Nation, Serious Sam, pretty much everything you've seen on Xbox Live sales. For I think it's like once a month you get a Serious Sam.
Maybe Serious Sam can finally stop going on sale. They'll probably just replace it with Grand Theft Auto 4. So we'll see that possibly once a week from now on.
It's interesting, actually. You kind of wonder if publishers are doing lots of sales and they come up on sale quite a lot. It might be an indication that the publisher or the developer or whatever is actually in a bit of trouble. I've seen that in the past with other companies that are doing like special
THQ.
offers on lifetime offers for things and so forth. It might just mean that they're struggling a bit.
Yeah, for sure. THQ, 38 Studios, they put those things on sale like a ton.
Yeah, because they're trying to get capital in because they're struggling. It's ironic actually that Spectra went off the marketplace because we were talking about that the other episode with the little glitch that you can manipulate for the levels. So.
Right. Guess it's not going to get patched now.
Nope.
No, that's just it, right? So that's kind of our suggestion is if you have these games now. I don't think any of the achievements are discontinued, and I don't think there's going to be any issues, especially if you already own it. But let's just say, don't delete it from it might have a hard time if you delete it, getting it back.
The Pool Nation.
I was just going to say, since those are some of the earliest delisted games in the one, have you guys had a look at how that works? Because I've been quite interested in that, but there's not really anything to play around with that with yet.
I'm not sure. The Pool Nation ones could be interesting because they've actually got it's kind of like a tournament mode, and that may not be under the matchmaking system just because of the way it's structured. So I'll have to see whether or not that one's actually still achievable.
Yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it.
Yeah, and I don't know. I haven't heard anything about any achievements or anything going bad. I mean, look, just because they filed for bankruptcy doesn't mean the company is done. They haven't shut their doors. Actually, what they have said is when they do get through bankruptcy or administration, their focus is going to be on flight and train simulators. I mean, so they've got a plan as to what they want to do. Well, and I've actually been in a company that went through bankruptcy, and it's a pain in the butt, but it's much better than just laying off a bunch of people.
Well, Atari did that a few years ago too.
Right.
They delisted a number of games and they all came back at the end of their process.
Administration is basically a protective measure to say we are having trouble paying our bills and we are formally saying that we need help to restructure our business and get back on track. So that's what Mastertronic was saying there, is that if they're focusing more on flight and train simulators, that's where they're seeing their company moving forward in order to get them to trade themselves out of bankruptcy. So yeah, that's they have to do that as part of their administration.
Right. So just as a kind of a PSA, maybe take a look at those games if there's some completions there you want to get quick. Just be weary that you might lose the ability to go grab those. So yeah, there's that. The other thing we kind of want to talk about is it is the start of the year. It is January. Brand new Games with Gold came out, and I had mentioned them earlier about. I don't really like fighting and racing games, so I'm not entirely sure I'm going to be playing Killer Instinct.
Great month for you, then.
I know, right? Or Dirt Showdown. I am interested in and this is what I really enjoy when they do this. So the game is Zeros. That's how I'm pronouncing it. I don't know. It's Zeros with an H, so I'm going to say Zeros. It's a brand new game. It comes out on January 16th. Side-scrolling brawler. I love side-scrolling brawlers, and I love new games. So even if it's garbage, it's free, it's new, it's fun.
Hopefully it won't follow the pattern lately with games that have been released for Games with Gold that are brand new and also have unobtainables. I think
like Dear God and Night Squad and
Yep.
No, come on. But
Wait,
still,
did Night
I mean,
Squad have unobtainable? I thought Night
No,
Squad
but there were those zeros.
It was just had some weird achievements. The zero
it had
pointers.
those zeros. They were cheap.
There was
I saw
Dear
a bunch
God,
of people.
and which is now obtainable, of course, in Dear God, which is nice. But there was another one as well. I think they had an unobtainable. Oh, Van Helsing, the other one.
right.
Yeah, Van Helsing was the one.
Yep.
That's right. Suffice to say, I mean, I'll let everyone else figure out the bugs before I play them. I just like new games.
And
I'm sure
it's
everybody
something
else
else for the backlog. Yay!
Exactly. Just add it to your collection.
Yes. I need more games in my collection. I don't have a problem.
There you go. So anyway, Killer Instinct Season 1, Ultra, first part of the month, Zeros on the Xbox One, Dirt Showdown, and Deus Ex Human Revolution on the 360, which, of course, are backwards compatible.
Yeah, so there's some PSAs there.
Let's hear them.
Yeah, the Killer Instinct Season 1 Ultra, there's actually some components of that bundle that you need to download manually, notably the combo pack and also the standalone game Killer Instinct Classic. And with that latter one, you actually need to go into the Xbox Store on the Xbox One to download it. You can't download it via the web. There's also another PSA for Killer Instinct. If you haven't actually started the game and you are a completionist, do not actually start the game up once you've downloaded the Games with Gold, because it will unlock an achievement straight away. It did so for me. The achievement is called Stylish Awkward. I think that's just a clothing-related achievement for that particular character, and it unlocks automatically. So if you don't want it on your card, don't start the game up after you download it.
That is a fantastic PSA.
The other one is for Dirt Showdown. Just like Dirt 3, there is actually a VIP pass required to play the online components. And also, like Dirt 3, that wasn't free when the game went Games with Gold initially. So we expect that will become free once it's been noted. It should become free eventually, but at the moment you can't play the online on Dirt Showdown without buying a $10 pass. So yeah,
we might have to get the community to throw a fit again, just like Dirt 3, because I know there was some issue with that at the beginning.
Yeah.
Is that how that worked?
It wasn't.
Yeah, there was a bunch of complaints.
No,
about
that's what happened.
Yeah,
so
that's
people,
fantastic.
People shouted at Micah Barra and Xbox on Twitter, and it eventually got made free. So I'm pretty sure the same thing's going to happen. I know Reddit was all up in arms about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because Codemasters was saying, no, it's not free, it's not going to be free, and then people kept complaining, and they were like, oh, okay, we'll make it free. So, yeah.
Can we all complain about
like
Rise of the Tomb Raider not being free? I'd love some of these new games that just came out not being free.
Well, I think it was more that they weren't giving you the full game for free.
Sure,
yeah.
That makes
like with
sense.
the digital version, it is a new copy, so you shouldn't have to pay for a season pass, or not season pass, an online pass equivalent.
Yeah, so the online pass, of course, would originally come with the new game.
Yeah,
but if you're buying
sense.
a second-hand copy, you need to buy the pass. So yeah, if they're providing it as Games with Gold, it's a new game, a new copy.
Sure.
It should be.
Sure. So I want a quick question to you guys. Based on what we saw in 2015, how do you guys like the Games with Gold program? Are you enjoying? I kind of made my comments about, racing and fighting games. We've seen a few of those, but whatever. I mean, they're free games, and I'm getting a few, and like I mentioned, with brand new games, that's always fun. What's your guys' take? How do you think the program's going?
I'm always a fan of free.
That's my favorite price point, by the way.
Yeah, yeah. Particularly, and you also like really old games too, I've noticed. No, I've got no complaints with the Games with Gold program. I think my only complaint with the Games with Gold program is often I've actually already got the games.
Yeah, that's true.
It seems, often there are months or a couple of months will go by and there is just nothing there for me. I'll add them to my tag anyway, because it means I can either get rid of a physical copy or I'll have an extra copy around for self-boosting. But that's probably my only complaint, is just that I have too many games already. So there's quite a good chance I've already got the games.
I quite like it as well. I don't really have a lot of complaints because, again, it's free. Again, I do a lot of times have the games, but it's nice because I do have a large game collection and I like to collect games as well as play them. So a number of times it's actually the Games with Gold. Like I don't get around to playing a lot of games, but sometimes I'll have a sealed copy that I've picked up at some point and haven't opened. And if the game goes Games with Gold, then I can just leave that sealed for my collection and play the digital one.
Yeah, that's
because I have a personal rule where I won't buy a digital copy unless I own a physical one. So like I only buy digital unless it's free, obviously.
Right.
But I won't buy digital if I can get a physical version of it, no matter how much cheaper it is, unless I'm buying multiples. If I'm buying multiples for boosting, I don't care. But I want to have at least one physical copy of whatever it is. So that goes for DLC, that goes for games, that goes for anything that you can get on disc. But I do like it. It's really great for boosting. Like I've gotten a number of games where I don't have to buy multiples now because I have a lot of Xboxes. I've got a lot of accounts. So games like Gears of War, actually I missed Gears of War. That's the only games with gold I missed. I have no idea how I missed it. But there are a number of other ones that I've downloaded multiple copies of just to have extra copies. My only complaint, I think, would be that now on the Xbox One you have to maintain a gold subscription to access your previously downloaded game. So it's not like you're actually purchasing it now. It's that you kind of get a partial, like, conditional license to it.
Yeah,
which
the thing about
really
that is that if you do drop your gold subscription and then re-get it later, you have access to your backlog of games that you did get. You don't lose those from your account.
Yeah, I know that you still get them if you go gold again. It's just kind of, I feel like they're still letting you kind of own them on the 360, and you did have gold at the time. I understand that it's an incentive to continue to be gold, and it kind of makes more sense to them. It's just kind of nice with the past ones that even if you did drop gold, like I have switched gold around on a couple of my dummy accounts in the past. That still, I mean, they still have a number of games with gold from that time, but they are no longer gold. And if I do that again, then maybe some of my dummies won't have access to everything. But I don't know. That's kind of a problem you'd only run into if you have as many accounts as I do.
It's only for the serious boosters out there. So
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the serious boosters
they don't
with
let you
6 Xboxes like me.
You can't add months onto your account, right? I mean, you have to set up for automatic renew. You can't get a code anymore to just tack on.
No, you can. I don't have any of my accounts set to auto renew because what usually ends up happening for me is because I'm not always on a particularly strict timeline for renewal. So like if my dummies run out of gold and I'm not boosting anything that requires 4 people, I'll just often let them sit silver for a while. And then when I find, because usually once a year there's a sale on gold where it's like more than half off. Yeah. So for the past 3 or so years, I maintain at least 4 gold accounts almost at all times, and I don't think I've paid more than $60 a year for the past 3 or 4 years.
Sure.
Just because it's at some point there's always like some kind of mispricing, really good sale, some kind of bonus that gives you gold. Like the last one, there was a bundle on Amazon UK that included, I think it was a year of gold, like both versions of Max, Cursed Brotherhood, and like a £5 gift card. But when you bought it, it actually gave you 4 codes for 12 months of gold. So, and it was the price of 12 months of gold for the whole bundle.
Wow.
So I grabbed one of those, and that covered me for a year. I bought an Xbox from Japan, and it had a bonus year of gold, and just things like that I always look out for deals and then buy them in advance, so I don't have my accounts auto renew because I don't want to pay full price.
Yeah, might be a good feature for a future episode where we talk about just some of the advanced boosting stuff that you do with multiple Xboxes and accounts and so forth, because I think that might be a topic of interest.
Absolutely.
I could bring up some photos of my setup. I actually have 6. I have 6 Xboxes connected to one monitor. And then I have a side one for my other one Xbox that doesn't have HDMI. So I could get out some pictures and have that going.
I thought I was a bit crazy with my 3 Xboxes and along with the Xbox One, but yeah, 6 is getting up there. I know.
Sounds like you just created a new segment.
Smirnov is in the same boat. I think he has something like a security monitor. You know, one of those multi-screen kind of security monitors, and he has that hooked up to a whole bunch of Xboxes. I think he has like about 8 for self-boosting or something like that.
Yeah, I would like a setup like that, but mine unfortunately only displays one at a time. But I do have them all hooked up to a remote, so I can switch between them very easily. But it's pretty beautiful.
There you go. Look for Boosting 101 with Crandy in future episodes.
Yeah.
So, well, that's fantastic. What I teased at the beginning of the show, let's get to that. Apparently, Xbox Fitness has discontinued the use of the Kinect sensor. So what it essentially is now is a streaming of videos service. I'm not quite sure how this works about getting achievements, but I mean, if you're simply logging hours or, quote unquote, exercising, I can only imagine you're getting gamer score by simply watching the videos or letting them run in the background. So Anyone who can confirm all this fun stuff? Yeah,
It's
literally,
very
they're just
interesting.
videos now. So
I wonder what they're going to do with achievements like jump the height of Mount Everest and things like that. Do they count all of the jumps in the video, or do you still need to
I
connect for
honestly
that?
don't know.
That's very interesting.
I haven't heard
I-
anything about discontinued.
Yeah,
I mean,
I wonder about that. Does it still actually use the Kinect sensor if it is there, and it just no longer requires it, which means it'll run and play those videos, and so you can exercise to the videos without the Kinect sensor.
Maybe.
But for some of the achievements, it might still require the actual Kinect.
it is entirely possible.
That's my guess is that it's still going to require Connect for those achievements, but for things like stamp cards and the kind of the easier global achievements that are just for completing workouts and such, I think those will count. But it'll probably still require the Connect. But I think with this news, this was kind of the last big first party Connect game. I think we can pretty much confirm that Connect is dead, and we're never going to see it again. Like it's gone.
Yeah, I don't know that we can say that. It might be that they're just putting Kinect on hold for a while, and perhaps in a year or so, once they've kind of gotten their strategy set and they've caught up to PlayStation a little bit, they might reintroduce it with a bit more of a push. But yeah, it certainly isn't really
That's
good
true.
news overall for the Kinect.
They could definitely do a relaunch with some kind of new marketing and some new good games and things. I could see that happening.
Yeah, it's
I would like to see
remarkably
that.
expensive for
quite-
voice functionality.
Yeah,
I really do like Kinect. It's just unfortunate that there's so little good support and content for it these days.
yeah. Although that said, there was a bundle that was released just recently, a couple of basically indie sort of games based around the Kinect. So I mean, games are still coming out for the Kinect, but there's certainly no major AAA title or major first party titles for it anymore.
Awesome. So, Terrigan, what are you telling me here about some functionality that we had?
Yeah,
and have lost?
there was on the original Xbox, the Xbox One original dashboard, there was a 30-day gamerscore leaderboard, which a lot of people liked, and it's probably the only way you can actually sort of see a comparison of all of your friends who aren't on TA. And I know I'd have comments with my coworkers about this because I have a few of them as my friends on Xbox, but they're not on True Achievements because they're not really achievement hunters, and they were always kind of shocked at how much gamerscore I'd be putting on comparative to them. So that was certainly a feature that was used, but that went away with the new Xbox One experience. And Mike Ibarra was actually queried about that on Twitter, and he's confirmed that it will be returning at some point to the Xbox One. I'm not sure on timeline, but it certainly will be coming back for anyone who was missing that feature.
Cool.
There was also another mention. Phil Spencer was queried about emulating the original Xbox on the Xbox One. Now, he didn't confirm or deny that was in progress, but certainly that it's on his mind because he mentioned that figuring out achievements would be something that they would have to do for the Xbox OG emulation, and it wouldn't be particularly easy to do that. So I thought that was interesting news. Not necessarily that it's even going to happen, but if it did, we might actually have more achievements as a result. So
That would be
that was cool.
amazing. I would love to replay some of my old original Xbox games with achievements, and we wouldn't have to worry about online achievements since all the servers are closed, which is a bonus.
Yep.
Well, and I love
Yeah.
the fact that Phil Spencer, literally the first thing he thinks about is, but how are you going to do achievements for that?
There's achievements.
That's fantastic. I
He's
totally
thinking about
appreciate
us.
that he's thinking of achievements. He's like,
Achievements for
how are we
games
going to
that existed before achievements did, which is super cool.
Yeah. It's fantastic. I mean, I know Xbox has embraced this achievements. They've, this is such an integral part that sets them, differently from their competitors, and people have copied it because it's so cool. And I just love the fact that that's something that came to his mind right away. Like, but how? Man, when I go back to play those old games, how am I going to score achievements?
Exactly.
The thing I really like too with achievements is it's amazing that this was kind of the first go at this concept, and it was done so well. Like, I still don't think anybody else has done achievements anywhere nearly as good as Microsoft has.
Yeah, certainly ascribing the value to them. Like the trophies, I think they don't really have a value. They're just kind of a sort of a 3-tier kind of.
And not just a value, but kind of a standardized value. Like every game is kind of standard to an extent,
Well, some of the early games weren't quite so standard, but yes, they standardized that one.
Well, I know we've got the 970s and the 920s and things like that, of course. But they were still getting it figured out.
It didn't take that long, though. I think the one thing that I miss from that Xbox doesn't do that PlayStation does is platinums. Like I wish we had platinums. Like it's annoying to say completion or 1K. Or, it's like, well, okay, what's a completion? Like, did you finish the game? Did you get all the achievements? Did you do that?
That's certainly a topic for another show, too.
Absolutely.
What is a completion?
Absolutely. Well, speaking of other shows and content, let's move to our featured content section. We've decided to change the name of the discussion section to Talking Zeds. And so this episode, we are going to discuss the highlights of 2015 and what we look forward to in 2016. So let's look back on the year that was. What were some of our favorite games that we played in 2015? Terrigan, how about your
Well, I'd have to say that Rise of the Tomb Raider and Batman Arkham Knight were the two games that I was most looking forward to during 2015, and they didn't disappoint. I enjoyed both of them immensely, and still do with Arkham Knight. There's still more content for me to do there. Those were probably my two sort of favourite big name games. I also have to give a shout out to Life is Strange. That was a great episodic content, sort of the Telltale style of click-through kind of game. But that was a really great story which wrapped up during 2015 as well. And I know that's hit a lot of people's top 10 lists.
Absolutely.
What about you, Crandy? You've got a few listed there?
Yeah, I didn't play a whole lot new, mostly Gra. But I did have a couple that stood out, and I was really, really happy with both of them. First one being Oddworld New and Tasty. Oddworld, I've been playing that game probably since I was, 6 years old or something. Way too young to be playing Oddworld. Put that out there. But I've loved the series, and I think it's a fantastic series. It's so well done, and the redo was absolutely perfect. There was nothing I could have asked to be better. It had great controls. It looked great. It was not buggy at all. They did such a great job of taking something that was if you've never played the original Oddworlds, they were a side scroller, but at the time, I think it came out in early mid 90s.
Was that a PlayStation 1 game?
Yeah, it was on PlayStation 1 and PC. But primarily, like most people played it on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, I certainly did.
Mm-hmm. And it was a side-scroller, but it could only load one screen at a time. So it would always have to load, once you went to the other screen, it would have to load the screen again. With this one, they changed it so it was always scrolling. So you were always centered. And the entire game, with a couple exceptions, just to make it work, is exactly the same. Like there is almost no change, and they made the transition so flawlessly. It just works fantastically. It looks beautiful. The sounds are great. The original guy,
hello,
exactly. The original guy behind the game was behind this one. He did all the voices. They're all true to the original. And a bonus, he also lives in the same part of the Bay Area that I do, which is kind of cool. I've never met him or seen him, but I know he lives there.
You bumped into the coffee shop or something?
I've heard of people bumping into him, but I haven't. And so yeah, that's kind of cool. Also, I was the first person on TA to complete the game, and I'm probably the first person in the world. There was one guy on the leaderboards that was similar to me in like completion around the time I finished it, and he was missing a couple achievements. So I'm pretty sure I'm the first person in the world to get all the achievements in that one, which is kind of cool.
Nice.
So that was fun, and I've been playing.
That's a nice feather in your cap.
I've been playing it forever, and it was a lot of fun to go back and play it again. The second one was Goosebumps. I was really surprised by Goosebumps. I've been a fan of Goosebumps for a long time. I read a lot of the books. I watched the show. And I really didn't expect it to be good. Like I thought it was going to be total trash. but it was Goosebumps. It had achievements. I was like, okay, I'll get it. It's not that expensive. And I was really impressed. I had a great time with that game. It's kind of like a 90s style point and click, real classic point and click. The puzzles were really well done. They were very clever. They weren't impossible, but they were really clever, and they were fun to figure out, and they were really satisfying when you finally did figure them out. I did the entire completion without a guide, and it took me maybe like 10 or 12 hours. I did it over a couple afternoons, and I really felt it, the length was perfect. It was really good. It was enough to get really immersed in it and enjoy it. There were a lot of clever references to some of the old, like some of the books and characters of the Goosebumps series that were, you could find them in the game, but it would give you kind of an edge if you already knew them. Like one subtlety that I was really impressed by was there was one because when it was coming out, I kind of watched some of the shows on Netflix again for fun. They're pretty funny. I always remember they were kind of cheesy and weren't really like that done, but they're still good. Like, your kid, they're fun. So I've been kind of rewatching some of them, and it's pretty funny. But I had recently watched the one, the Cuckoo Clock of Doom, and they had the clock in the game. And you actually had to, like, in that story, that one of the dates falls off the clock and it changes something. I'm not going to spoil it, but it changes something because the one date had fallen off the clock. So in order to change something in the game, you actually went in and removed that same date from the clock. And then going back and looking at the hints to that, it was really clever how it was all connected, and I really liked that. That was just like one of the many kind of references in there, and it was really well done. And given that it was published by a company called Game Mill, which just I already thought it was going to be bad. I saw the publisher was Game Mill. I'm like, this is going to be terrible. Absolutely not. I'm really looking forward to playing it again on the one. I just picked it up the other day when it was on sale, so I'll be playing through that one again. But those were my top two of 2015. Runner-up that I haven't played yet, but I know is going to be great, is Barbie. I have it. I just haven't had a chance to play it yet. And Monster High, I got a GameStop gift card for Christmas, so probably going to grab Monster High.
I just picked up both versions of the Snoopy game, and that's worth playing too.
Is it going to be as good as Barbie though? Like I hear
I don't think it'll live up. I don't think it'll live up to that.
Flying through the map and stuff in Barbie, I think it's got a pretty low production quality there. But,
okay.
But I don't know. I haven't played it yet. I can't speak for it. That's just what I've heard.
Yeah, one of the things with Goosebumps, I think you actually gave me a tip for this when I was going for the world record. You can actually get a good 600 gamer score out of Goosebumps within the space of about 20 minutes if you follow a really strict guide on it.
That's something else I could mention too. Is although the first play that I used no guide for took me about 10 to 12 hours to figure everything out. If you know what you're doing, you can probably get the full 1,000 in under 2 hours.
Yeah,
especially if you do them back to back. The first one might take a bit longer, but if you do the second one immediately after, you'll rip through the whole game, no problem.
Yeah, and I think I wrote a very very long, very explicit guide for the world record attempt, and I think I clocked it down to 580 points in 18 minutes.
That sounds about right. Yeah, because what's that one play of the game?
It's one complete playthrough and picking up a lot of the miscellaneous achievements along the way, and you can earn the 580 in that.
Yeah, because I was gonna say on my I think I ended up doing 3 or 4 plays, and by the end I could run through the game in about 15 minutes. So like knowing all the puzzles and all the locations, you can get it down really fast. Yeah. But I do like, recommend.
When I read this,
I really recommend though, if you're going to play it, give it a chance. Really get into it and really play it the first time, and then the second, then stack it for quick easy points.
When I read this on your favorite games, I totally thought it was a joke. Like, I thought you were going to use it as a throwaway line, and now to hear the passion in your voice on this game, it's like, oh my gosh, I really should go play this.
No, I highly
great.
recommend it. It's fantastic, especially if you're
And
kind of
even
somewhat
if you don't
familiar
like it,
with the books or the show. It's really fun. I really enjoyed it.
I've actually just seen the trailers, not the trailers. I've seen the posters out coming out for the the Goosebumps movie that's coming out. So I think that game was released related to the movie somehow.
The game is a prequel to the movie. I wanted to see the movie, but I
Right.
didn't get a chance to see it yet because that one came out, and I think now they're talking about a sequel to the movie. The movie was, for what it was pretty well received. I think I was expecting.
It hasn't even been shown in Australia yet. So
was it?
I haven't had a
Okay.
chance to-
Yeah, it came out around Halloween here.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
But I was kind of skeptical of it. It was like, it seemed kind of weird, but then it was pretty well received, and people were saying it was kind of like, it's kind of stayed true to it. So, I'll definitely check it out when it comes out somewhere, not in the theaters. But anyway, that's not
Fantastic.
games.
Well,
We'll move on.
Yeah, my two highlights of 2015, and they're interesting because you can kind of go both ways with this one. So the first one is Fallout 4. This was a game. I mean, I loved Fallout 3. I'm sure I'm going to love New Vegas. Haven't played it yet, but even though it wasn't the same developer. What I really loved about this was Bethesda announced it at E3, and it came out in November. There's none of this like, oh, we're gonna delay it, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do this. It's like, boom, here it is. We're pretty much done with it, and then they just executed. Now, I think the excitement of the release was a little. Maybe the hype was too much.
It was
I still
pretty
love the
seriously
game.
hyped.
I've only played a little bit of it.
I mean, I haven't played it,
was,
so
and
I
it
can't
would've been
speak for
hard.
it, but it was kind of like way through the roof from my observation.
Yeah, and it was going to be hard for them to reach that threshold anyway. But, look, it's a Bethesda game. You're going to expect bugs. You're going to expect glitches. You're going to expect things like that.
I'll stop you there. How
Huge
many
open-
other developers
No.
do you give a free pass to as far as glitches go?
That's the thing.
It's funny.
That's just it. It is. It's crazy because you think about it and you're like, yeah, anyone else that did something like this, we'd be like, what is your deal? Like, take your time and finish the game. But for whatever reason, I don't really care. And I think it's because they're not game breaking. Like, they're just silly. They're kind of funny. Like some dude
I
gets
heard there was
his
some
foot caught
pretty
in a rock
seriously
or something.
game-breaking
There are-
stuff for some
there are some
people.
game-breaking bugs,
Like,
yeah.
you had to restart the entire game unless you made 6 backups type deal.
Oh, a game like that, you should have a ton of backups anyway.
But still,
I mean,
But no, you
Yes.
shouldn't. This is like, we're in 2016 now. We shouldn't have to make backups.
Well, no, because of
just
choices.
to get around things. Yeah, but for choices,
because of choices,
sure.
because you just never know when you're going to
Sure,
die.
for choices, sure.
You
But
know,
I think if you have to make 6 backups of a game because you're worried about a glitch that's going to destroy all of your game saving, that's
No,
not something
yeah,
we
no.
should have in this day and age.
And I'll
So-
note
That's
here
true.
too, I give no developers a free pass on bugs. I mean, I'm a little more lenient on big games like that, but when you can't get through the campaign without, I mean, some people can, some playthroughs can, but like in general, like if half of people can't get through the campaign because some boss doesn't spawn or like some guy doesn't talk to you for no apparent reason, that's on it. Like, you clearly didn't really play or test your game. Like, it's not ready. It's simply not ready.
Well, they don't focus group.
But
either.
and the thing
Bethesda keeps
and
everything
the thing
internal.
is too is like, it's going to keep happening. It's going to keep getting worse because people just don't. I don't know. They say they care, but they don't vote with their wallet. That's my problem. This is a conversation for another podcast, and I can go on about this forever
For sure.
But it
And
just
that's the
kind of
thing.
came up, so.
I think I've only put like 4 hours into it, and like I've loved what I've played so far, and maybe I'll be singing a different tune, but I will give them a thumbs up for announcing and executing. I mean, they had that plan.
I agree.
That was a great
I think that's a
development
good
cycle for that.
method because there's like
It's a great
it's
model.
Like, for example, I remember Ghost Recon Wildlands or whatever it's called, that new Ghost Recon that's coming out. Like, I thought that conceptually looks super cool, but they're talking like release 3+ years later, and they're already opening pre-orders. Like, what's with that? That's ridiculous.
That's obscene.
And it's not going to look
absolutely.
anything like what you're presenting in 3 years from now. Like everyone should know that, but
Yep.
I don't know.
So that was one of my highlights of 2015, which, like I said, could go both ways. The other one, and I'll lead with as a highlight, and then I will also talk about it being a low light. So the highlight is Destiny: The Taken King. So what I really appreciate about what Bungie has done here is the fact that they have been listening to their constituents, their user base, and have made improvement. I mean, they drastically changed the game from year one, even through year one, into The Taken King. And what they presented in The Taken King was a very is probably the game we should have gotten when it launched, but I really appreciated the efforts that they made on improving the challenges systems, having the quest log, trying to reduce some of the grindiness and the reliability of RNGesus to help you out along the game. I really appreciate that, and I mean, the mechanics, the gameplay is just so fun. And for a game that I complain about quite a bit in normal everyday life, to still put like 300 hours into it, like, I don't do that with games. And so there's something there that is keeping me playing, and the hooks are certainly in. Now, what I don't like, and is a low light, is their new DLC model. I hate microtransactions. Hate them. They're
too.
awful. I think they're ruining video games, and I can't wait to talk about that in a future show. But, say what you will about a content drop, a chunk of content coming out. Yes, I think the first 2 DLC packs for Destiny were at $20 were grossly overpriced. But I do not care for the microtransaction-fueled model of nickel and diming people to supplement new gameplay and new events and things. Because people buying $5, $10 dances, I don't believe is going to be enough to get the level of content that I want in a big content drop. I feel like we're just going to get little piddly pieces here sprinkled in every now and again. Now, I like that kind of stuff because I think it's great for the community, but I also like those big, exciting drops like, hey, here's a huge campaign, or here's a new story branch, or here's a raid. I just don't think we're going to get that stuff with this model. I don't think it's going to generate enough. Now, that being said, mobile games are doing just fine on microtransactions.
True, but
you got idiot whales who are spending copious amounts of money on Candy Crush and Clash of Clans.
Yeah, but those
whole, games aren't hurting.
The whales, as they call it, is actually I think it's a bit of a myth. The concept there is, that there are 5 people who are spending thousands of dollars on a game, which are basically keeping the game running for all of the other people who don't spend any money on it at all. And that's false economics, and I think that's been disproven as a kind of a viable model for a free-to-play game. But anyway, this is all something we can discuss in another show with the microtransactional discussion.
So you think they're the whale pups because you're just preying on idiot kids who don't know their parents' credit card is attached?
Probably a bit
to
of that.
I
think it's a short-term thing. It's like
it's going to be
they're going to run
out. Yeah, I think it's going to look more like a sustainable income from a lot of people, and then you are going to have whales, but I think you're going to have a lot more people drop in like 99 cents, 49 cents, $1.99 on a regular basis. Yeah. Than the people that are dropping like $10,000 in a weekend kind of thing.
Exactly. Yep.
Right. That kind of brings up another low light, which I felt happened in 2015 way more prevalently than any other year, has been the $100 upfront game. Hey, here's your $60 game, and by the way, we've got a $40 season pass ready for you. I'm not going to tell you what's in the season pass because I don't know yet. But I would love if you spent $100 on this game.
Give us your money
then,
first.
Yeah, we'll deliver something.
So we can cover all of the production costs. And then once it's covered, we can just churn out whatever garbage we want because you've already paid us. We know you're not going to cancel.
Absolutely.
We've already sold you the season pass.
Hate.
I think that's called the invisible Kickstarter model.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. I hate that trend that we've seen in 2015, and
So
like the growth of microtransactions in games that don't
people
need
need
them.
to stop
Single
buying
player
into
games.
It. People need to stop buying a season pass before it's finished. People need to stop buying DLC before it's finished. You got to stop pre-ordering games. You got to buy things that are finished
Agreed.
and ready, and then we'll see better content. But it's going to be hard
I guess
to do that.
The other side of that argument too is that developers need money to actually make the games in the first place, and it's also the companies are in it for a profit. They're not there as a charity.
Oh, absolutely, and I think they should still be able to make a profit. But the company like Ubisoft doesn't need your pre-orders. They know they're going to sell a ton of them.
No.
But when you pre-order it, you tell them in advance, so you're already buying this, and you have no idea what it is, so they can make whatever trash they want. Whatever. I'll stop this here because we're gonna derail too far. But
Yep.
because I can go on about this for a long time
Absolutely.
because I have very strong opinions about it.
I hope we do. I hope we do. The final thing that was a little bit of a disappointment is I'm just going to lump together Telltale
before we
games.
go on, I'm just making a note here for another section for the show, which would be Crandy's Rants.
Crandy's
That's
Ranties.
true. I could do many rants.
So, like I was saying, the other thing that's kind of been disappointing, and I'm lumping this all together in Telltale games. Loved the model in Season 1 of Walking Dead. I think, like what they did with Game of Thrones, what they've done with Tales from the Borderlands, I think the content is really good. I like it. I cannot stand how glitchy and buggy and awful of a mess it is. Like, they need to fix their engine so bad. It's like if you're in a truly intense part of the story and you're really invested and all of a sudden somebody pops in or, somebody does something ridiculous or breaks or whatever. Like, I mean, I remember playing Wolf Among Us and the dude picked me up and he was going to throw me around, and instead I was just absorbed into his body, and then all of a sudden, like, I popped in against the wall, and it's like, well, you just ruined the experience because I do not feel like I'm part of this story anymore because it's broken. You say what you will about choices mattering in those types of games, but like as a choose your own adventure or a visual novel or however you want to classify it, I enjoy the story and the process to get there.
It certainly breaks
Please
the immersion.
just clean it
breaks
up.
the immersion with bugs like that. Even if they don't break the game, it takes you out of the immersion.
It's
in the story.
breaking as much of the game that's there. Because there's really not much game there.
I think one other criticism I'd have of Telltale is their habit of releasing the final episode of a season and then discounting the entire season in one block. And it's like, well, okay, thanks all you guys who paid full price for all this stuff.
Well, I remember
you could have got it for a quarter of the price. It's like,
I think it was King's Quest put the season pass on sale for like half off before they even released episode 2.
Yeah.
So all the people that
they
bought it
absolutely
right off
did.
the bat, look, you could have not gotten anything sooner and paid half as much as these people.
yeah, so that's another point to not buy season passes.
Exactly.
Yep.
We'll add that to my rant.
Well, what else? You should rant some more. Do you got anything else that
I've
bothered you
got
this
low
year?
lights. I've got lots of those. Not lots, just like
Let's hit
just
a
like
couple
half
of
the
them.
games I bought this year. Rock Band. We're gonna start off with Rock Band 4. That's the worst. Rock Band. For those of you that know me, I really like Rock Band. I've been playing Rock Band since it came out.
I think that's actually how we became friends, was through Rock Band or Guitar Hero.
Probably was when we were working on projects that people hate me for. So I bought Rock Band 4, and I haven't regretted buying a game as much as that one in a very long time. Like, I seriously regret supporting that, if you can call it that, a game in a long time. It's just awful the way they're handling the way they're handling things, what they've pushed out. I really like the guitar, but that's it. That's the only thing that is good about Rock Band 4. The guitar is amazing.
Yeah.
It's one of the best that they've released. The game, I would say it should be called Rock Band like 1.1.
I wonder what's happened there is, Harmonix kind of went all in with the Kinect. with Fantasia, and I know that I'm pretty sure they were looking at developing other Kinect-based games, and then Microsoft basically shot them in the foot with removing the Kinect from the Xbox, so it was no longer within the bundle. And I remember there was a tweet specifically from one of the guys
I do
at Harmonix saying,
that tweet.
"It's like, well, shoot."
Yeah,
and I
remember that
and I
too.
think. What happened there is they had to basically restructure what they were doing. I don't know if Rock Band 4 was actually in progress at that time or not, but my suspicion is no, and I suspect that they hurriedly went to that because they needed to. Yeah, I suspect that they then hurriedly went to release Rock Band as their new title because basically everything else that they'd had on the go was going to be dead in the water.
I
which
think
is a bit of a
the thing
shame.
with Fantasia too, though, is I'm sure they got some kind of backing from Disney. Like I don't think they could have acquired the license on their own. I suspect Disney probably approached them, and I imagine like there was a lot of, at least I think there was a lot of like pretty popular music on there that would have been expensive to license.
Yeah, and all the remixes of them too. I mean, each song has at least sort of the main mix, and then there's at least 2 mixes on disc, and there's a bunch of other remixes and so forth. And the way they also mix together is interesting.
Yeah,
quite a fun game actually. But yeah.
It does look like a fun game, but yeah, like it flopped obviously because the Kinect was canned. But yeah, Rock Band 4, the on disc soundtrack is pathetic. It's the worst of any of the Rock Bands by far. The DLC on launch was a mess. It didn't work. Installing it all it probably took me, I don't even have, I mean, I've got a decent amount, but I don't have that much. Like I've probably got, aside from the disc exports, a couple hundred tracks. I think it took me 2+ hours to install them all.
It would. I haven't actually tried. I don't have Rock Band 4, but I've got at least $700 worth of DLC for the Rock Bands.
Yeah, I've got
time
something around there too. But yeah, there was that. There's no online play. There's no practice mode.
Yeah, the practice mode really surprised me, and the online play.
The practice mode was unreal. Like the online play,
I could see that, and so I could see them adding that later. But it really is a big part of the game, particularly in this day and age.
I really still think it's unacceptable, even in their situation. It's such a lazy cop-out excuse they use too. Like, oh, our surveys didn't indicate that people used it. It's like, that's because in your surveys, nobody thought it was even an option that it would ever leave. Yeah, because if anybody had even considered that thought, that would have been like number 2 behind DLC. Easily. Like, I would take that over instruments being backwards compatible or forwards compatible. I would take that over just about anything in the game. Like that is like the biggest thing that keeps me coming back to Rock Band was online play. Yeah, the set list was shorter. It might have had more songs than Rock Band 1, but they were not very good, and almost all of them were Harmonix bands. I mean, not that that's
I guess
bad,
the issue for them is they've had 3 Rock Bands before and a whole lot of DLC. They're kind of running out of good classic songs that they haven't already put in the game. So I kind of...
They are, but not that much. I mean, they're still releasing good DLC. They're just not... They just didn't put anything in the game that was really like... There are no songs in the game that I'm really like going back to and looking forward to. The availability on launch was horrible. The adapters were... I mean, this goes to a money... This isn't my biggest issue with it, but it was kind of poorly done, and the way they handled it with people trying to get it, they're like, oh, well, we told you should have pre-ordered. And it's like, well, you should expect to sell more than just your pre-orders, too.
Well, I think a lot of this points to Harmonix being rushed with the release, and also because they were rushed, they don't have enough time to get the manufacturing done.
It was very, very
there's a bunch of sort of issues there, and I kind of feel for them because I feel like they were kind of pushed into this situation a little bit by the Microsoft decision.
I would feel for them more if the general handling of the community issues wasn't so poor. Yeah. They were very misleading in the online play. They were very vague. and they still are very vague about anything they're going to be adding. They would use the excuse all the time. It's like, oh, well, we want it to be an evolving platform. Well, that's great.
What are your plans?
They give you no plans, and then they turn around and say, oh, sales are really good. We will probably continue to update it through 2016. Well, if you're calling this an evolving platform, you should be looking to update this through like 2026, because 1 year of updates, that is not even going to put you at the level where Rock Band 3 was. Like, they would have been so much better off just porting Rock Band 3. Like, if they had done that, nobody would have been upset. You can port Rock Band 3 and then update it.
I wonder if it'll be available on backwards compatibility.
I'm kind of thinking it won't be, because the issue of the instruments. And
yes,
I know even with the Cronus, that's really good about compatibility, the instruments are really hard. They don't work with it, and somebody has done some kind of, because, you know, I kind of look in the modding bit of it. People have looked with the like the way the message is sent to the console, and it's super weird. It's like it's its own thing and super complicated and really weird. So nobody's really been able to figure that out. Well, they have, but nobody's really put the time or work in to really justify doing it. So I think getting it to work with backwards compatibility is probably going to be way more work than it's worth.
And then there's the issue of
adapter
DLC as well.
Yeah, exactly. The adapter is very cool, though. I'm really impressed that they managed to pull that off. It works great.
The dongle thing?
The dongle for the 360 instruments, super cool.
It doesn't work with the drum, though, does it? Or was that...
Yes, It does. It doesn't work with wired drums. Everything wireless works. Wired does not. And then that brings me to the other thing that they're handling very poorly is they're really ignoring any of their top tier players, which they're the people that'll stream, that'll bring new players, that'll spend way more money on DLC than anybody else. And they're basically saying, yeah, we might do e-kits, but we also might not, and we're not really going to say anything. And then people with e-kits are like, well, then I'm just going to play Rock Band 3. And that's what's happening. Is people are just they buy Rock Band 4, realize it's horrible,
certainly,
and then start playing Rock Band 3 again.
Go back to their old ones that do all the things that they wanted to do.
And they're just not giving any concrete plans. They're not giving any timeline. It's really bad. They're handling it really, really poorly, and I really regret buying it. I really do. And then the other thing, with practice and online, they say, our surveys say only a few people use this for this much time, and like these like top tier players use it, and that's it. And then their first update, what do they roll out? Brutal mode. Brutal mode, the mode that is
the mode nobody asked for.
The mode nobody asked for, nobody cares about, and it's super lame. Like I played it a little bit. It just punishes you for doing well. It's not even fun. It is not fun. It's not fun because it's impossible to be good at it. Like, you can't memorize a song,
and you can't practice either.
You can't. Yeah, exactly. I don't remember if I tweeted it to them or posted on I posted on the True Achievements forums something making fun of them having no practice mode, and it was funny. I was like, better get practicing for brutal mode. Oh wait. Something along the lines of that, because like really that's what it is. So you can't put in practice that's been in I'm pretty sure even the track packs had practice. Like, how can you not? How hard is it to just?
To be fair, the track packs themselves were essentially rebranded versions of Rock Band 1. So
I know they were. The later ones I think were on the Rock Band 2 engine, but still, it's the same thing, just cut down, put on this. But anyway, they had. I'm pretty sure they had practice mode.
Yeah,
I really don't imagine it's that hard to just kind of cut and paste practice mode. It doesn't even have to be that good. Like, even if you couldn't slow it down, even if you could just go practice solos at full speed, it would be immensely helpful. But yeah, so Rock Band 4, horrible disappointment. I'm going to move on. That's long enough on Rock Band 4. Yep. Horrible game. Don't buy it. Just don't buy it. Forget it exists. It's bad.
So Guitar Hero Live.
Guitar Hero Live. Also horrible game. I expected that one to be horrible, so I did not regret buying it. It was actually horrible for reasons different than I thought it would be, because I initially really thought the 2 rows of 3 buttons was going to be horrible and stupid. It's actually not. It's pretty fun, and it's laid out well, but the execution is just brutally bad. It's just terrible. So first of all,
You mean like the live action stuff?
and see, that's another thing. Is I'll start with that. The live action, I thought that was kind of cool because I kind of like Sega CD and like CDI, the kind of really like cheesy, goofy 90s FMV stuff.
Sure.
I kind of like that, and it's kind of cool. Like the first couple are actually good. Like it's actually the kind of view of the audience is kind of more immersive, and like being on the stage with the band is actually more immersive. But the problem is it's exactly the same every single time.
Oh gosh, that'd be terrible.
So the first time it's cool. The second time it's kind of cool. Third time it's stupid.
The novelty.
And then
wears
from
off.
there on, the whole thing is stupid. And then on top of that, every performance is so over the top. Just completely over the top. Like nobody would act like this on stage. Nobody would ever look or act like this. And every single performance is like that. And it's painful. It's painful watching all of these stupid performances. And by the end of the game, it's just like, this is like super stupid. And the FMV thing is stupid. They should have canned it. It was really dumb. So then back to the hardware. The buttons are really small. Like really, really small. Way smaller than they should be. And they're also set up in a different way than any of the older guitars, because the older guitars were just a regular button that would press in and pop up really smoothly, and it didn't really matter where on the button you pressed it. So even if you hit it right on the edge, it would still go down smoothly. With this one, they're kind of a sideways L shape. So near the outer rim of the button, so on the bottom and the top of the neck, there's nothing underneath the button, and the part that actually presses the switch is in the center of the neck. So if you're pressing on the edge, like the top or the bottom of the neck, the button presses don't work. So you have to be pressing in the center of the neck all the time, which is not great, and they're really kind of choppy. They're not smooth. Even when you press them right above where the switch is, they're not smooth at all. So that means in any kind of difficulty, like with any kind of difficulty increase, which isn't a problem with this game because every song is super easy. But if they were to ever add something that was slightly hard, it just wouldn't work. It just can't work. Well, actually, they did add something that's actually hard, and it's impossible. It's not fun. Doesn't work. Stupid.
And the hardware's fighting against you.
The hardware's fighting against you, and the highway. The other thing they did on the highway is they made the notes in a pick shape. And I don't know why they did it, because it makes it really, really hard to read. So you have the top and bottom fret on the same depth of the highway. So the highway is like a classic highway.
Yeah, so just for people who aren't familiar with rhythm games, the highway is the movement of the notes that come towards you on the screen to let you know what you're going to play. That's referred to as the highway in pretty much every one of these rhythm games.
And so on the highway, there's no height difference. They're all at the same height. The one points up and one points down, which when you're playing quickly, you can't read. It doesn't matter. You just see white and black, and you have to kind of figure it out.
Is there like a high speed mode?
No,
for that? No.
Okay. That's another thing. Actually, each song plays back at a different speed, which makes it very, very difficult to play because there's no one speed and there's no hyperspeed. No, Rock Band did have that, so ignore that. But what they should have done is there are notes where you have to press the top and bottom button on the same position, which is really hard to do with the hardware. That's another issue. Is very, very difficult, and it shouldn't be. But with those notes, they actually have height differences. So there are two lines instead of pick shapes that come together in a box on different heights. It would have been much easier to read all of the notes if they were done this way, where they were lines or had some kind of height difference similar to Rocksmith. It just makes any kind of difficulty very, very hard to deal with, just because it's so hard to read. The other thing is,
and that's where you're fighting against the UI and the hardware rather than actually the difficulty of the song itself, and that's
exactly.
not really what the game's supposed to be about. You shouldn't be having to fight with the UI and the hardware in order to do something difficult. You should be able to learn it because it's a difficult thing you need to get skillful at. So yeah.
Exactly, and that is the entire problem with the game is the ideas are good. The ideas are really good, but you're fighting against it so much that it makes it not fun to play.
Mm-hmm.
And that is really, I really hate the soundtrack. I think it's terrible. Like the worst soundtrack it's worse than Rock Band 4. Personally, I think so. It's got a lot of pop music, and it's got a lot of things that are not guitar songs, like Skrillex.
I saw that on the playlist and went, "What the hell?"
Yes, and that is a reflection of the entire playlist.
Yeah. To be honest, though, I don't think I think since Guitar Hero World Tour, I haven't really been that impressed with any of the Guitar Hero playlists.
I agree. This one's particularly bad, though. Metallica was pretty good. Guitar Hero Metallica was decent, but Harmonix didn't pick the ones
that were specific.
That one,
the ones that were specific to a band, I think they were pretty good. But the ones that like the mainstream ones, when they started really introducing a lot of the sort of mainstream pop, non-guitar based rock based songs, that's when it started getting a bit silly. And
Warriors of Rock had a pretty good one, but Warriors of Rock was a really good game that I actually kind of overlooked when it was new. But it was the timing of it was so bad, though. It was so long dead when they actually made a new good game. It was too late. There was you couldn't salvage it at that point.
So not so much that it was long dead. It was just that they'd actually oversaturated the market with a whole bunch of crap.
I mean, that's what I kind of mean. It's like
and then they released
this
good game, and I mean, I've heard good things about that particular version, but it was just kind of like the last laugh of that particular era.
Yeah, but then the last thing that I can think of off the top of my head with Guitar Hero is Guitar Hero TV. Guitar Hero TV is a super cool concept. Guitar Hero TV and the lag issues, they kind of go hand in hand. So Guitar Hero TV is a super cool concept. I love the idea of it, but it's, again, executed so poorly that it actually takes away from the game. So it is kind of like an MTV, when MTV played music style system, where you just join a channel and it just plays songs. It plays DLC songs all day, and you just jump in and play them, or you can just sit and listen to them. You don't even have to play them. You can just let it play, and the notes won't pop up. You can't fail, you can't drop out, or like you can drop out, but you can't drop out as in failing. And you just play along, and you have kind of like a real-time leaderboard with other people that are playing, or kind of like ghosts if there's not enough people.
Yeah, that does actually sound like a pretty good idea. And I think I recall way back in Rock Band 2, I think they were talking about doing something like that. But it got canned for various reasons.
I don't remember that with Rock Band, but it wouldn't surprise me. It's really cool, and I love the idea of it. Now, the execution is what kills it. So, first of all, you know how streaming games seem like a cool idea and have been tried before, but always fail?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're kind of laggy and require lots of bandwidth and things like that.
Well, and that's the thing. If there are lag issues when streaming an Xbox One into another room and trying to play a game that's really dependent on Twitch mechanics, streaming a game from a server on the other side of the country down your internet tubes is going to have lag issues. It's inevitable.
Now, imagine that in a game that if you have, say, 10, 15 milliseconds of lag, is completely crippling. That's a problem. And that is the biggest problem of GHTV is particularly on the 360. I have the 360 and the One version. It works better on the One, but not much. The 360 just does not have enough temporary memory to handle the amount of content that is being streamed. It simply cannot handle it, to the point where if you unlock an achievement mid-song, you are 5 seconds behind. for the rest of the song. It will always break your combo.
It's kind of like one of those older games where the achievement pops and the whole thing just freezes for a few seconds whilst it goes. Pop,
No,
here's your achievement. Now you can start.
That's exactly what it's like. It's because it's streaming all this video, it's streaming the notes, and the 360 just does not have enough fast temporary memory to deal with that. It's less of a problem on the One because it does. Like the hardware is there, but the problem still persists that it is still streaming a rhythm game and it doesn't work.
Yeah, it's surprising that they would do it that way, that they wouldn't stream, like the first thing they should do is give you the track list, like the Note Highway, and then just stream the song, and that way you're not sort of fighting with it.
They were kind of going, I think they were kind of going for the MTV music video thing. It's kind of stupid. It's better than the live thing, but it's still stupid. Mm-hmm. And so that's a really big problem with GHCB. And then they microtransactioned it to death on top of that.
Yeah. Well, let's not get started on that again.
Well, I'll give an overview of the issue on the Guitar Hero live bit of it. So it's not the worst I've seen, but it's pretty bad. So you can also play any of the songs on demand. Any of the songs that will show up on the channels, you can play on demand. So you have plays. When you play the songs, you earn coins, but you can also buy GH cash with real money. And you can use both those things to buy plays. The thing is, you can't buy the songs like you could in the past. The only thing you can buy are plays. So every time you play
so it's the
a
arcade
song
machine model
on demand, you get one play, and that's it. There's also no practice mode. I'll add that to GH Live. No practice mode. So that's the biggest thing with microtransactions. It takes a long time to earn any substantial amount of coins to get plays. So like you can get, you play, like you log in for the day, you get enough for like a couple plays. They did in an update start giving you 3 plays a day if you have 0. So you can get like 3 a day for free. But it's bad.
It sounds pretty awful.
It's going to be a pretty lame party when you get your friends over.
But
and you only get 3 songs.
But you can buy the party pass and play unlimited for 24 hours if you're having a party. I don't know how much it is. It's probably really expensive.
I thought it was $10, $20.
Probably. It's probably like $10, which is way too much.
I mean, that's still a lot.
It's like $5. Okay, still too much, but I could see it like $10 is too much. I don't know if it's $10. I wouldn't be surprised though. So the thing is, I don't hate the plays model. I really don't hate it. But if you could buy the song and add it to your library like you could on Rock Band, and then also have plays in addition, that would be really good. Because you could try out songs, you could buy the ones you like. But no, they want to force you to keep buying plays, and that's where it becomes a problem.
Mm.
So I was going to talk about Rainbow Six Siege, which was my other disappointment of the year. The beta was so bad I canceled my pre-order. But I'm not going to because I spent so much time on Guitar Hero. So we can move on.
All right. So let's get back compatibility. Let's look at what was good in 2015. So
I was going to say, did we even like 2015?
Screw that year.
See, I really liked the ones I liked, but I really
hated
it. See, the thing is, I just have such a history with Rock Band and Guitar Hero that it's just kind of sad to see where it's gone. And especially with Guitar Hero because it had so much potential to be okay. Like, after seeing it, like I saw it initially, I knew it was going to be bad, and then seeing it, knowing it was bad, like expecting it to be bad, playing it, seeing that it had potential, and then just failed miserably is really disappointing. Yeah. That's what disappointed me the most with that. But anyway, backwards compatibility.
All right, moving on. So this is a highlight for 2015, particularly for me. I think backwards compatibility came out and it worked really well for the most part. What do you guys think? How did you find backwards compatibility?
I'm pretty impressed by it.
Yeah, I think I haven't really heard many issues with it. Halo Reach, I think, had some issues which they're addressing. It was basically almost unplayable in parts. But
I've had a couple bits in. I don't remember. It was something from Rare Replay, I'm sure, because that's pretty much the only thing I've used it on, where it kind of got choppy for a bit. But for the most part, it's really good, especially with how fast they kind of rolled it out. I was pretty impressed by that.
And all the new games with gold as well being backwards compatibility by default. It's another plus.
My only thing is it would be nice if they didn't have to package the emulator in every download. Because you see a game that's like 20 megabytes is now like 670 megabytes because it has to have the 650 megabytes of Xbox 360 in every single package. It would be nice if they were just an add-on for one download. But I mean, with the excessive size of everything on the one, it's not really that big of a deal. It's just kind of like
it is a bit surprising when you go and look at the Pac-Man game and it's something like, the original one is 25 meg or something like that, and then you go and download the backwards compatibility version for a gig and you think, what the hell?
Exactly. But I mean, like, there's so much on the one that's like that, like Dead Rising 2 having a 30 gigabyte update on a 20 gigabyte game kind of thing. It's just like everything is just so excessively sized.
The Master really Chief Collection was like that. It had something like a 40 gig download on the first install. Anyway, moving on, the new Xbox One experience, I think generally that's been seen as a positive. I
hated it.
Yeah.
Absolutely hated it.
What about, I found the speed of it was actually quite a welcome improvement.
I found it way slower on my box.
Really? Yeah. Okay, maybe your box has issues, Trendy.
Well, it does have issues, but it didn't have issues in that way before that update. Okay. So,
well, okay, mixed bag then on the new Xbox One experience. Freem, what's your call?
Me being my usual negative self.
I mean, I think the only thing from me is that it was really, everything was in a different spot. And so it took a while to relearn everything. And I didn't use the original dashboard to that much of a capability. Like, it was just functional. It was fine, whatever. It was kind of clunky, but I didn't really care. I do appreciate that it doesn't try to reopen all the apps all the time, like, and all the snapping and all that garbage. Like, it's nice just to be like, Zoom, go to your friends. Yeah, Zoom, go to your
the friends and party being basically integrated into the dash and not being separate apps is probably the biggest kind of speed improvement they've gotten out of it, and it makes the function of those sections much better.
Absolutely.
For the other things, I'm fairly forgiving whenever they roll out a new, or whenever any company rolls out a new sort of UI kind of thing, because I work in development and I kind of deal with that kind of thing. So I know that it's basically, whenever they roll that kind of thing out, there is going to be some teething issues for people who don't quite know where everything was or everything is moved to. Right. So I'm fairly forgiving of that, just because that's the nature of change. There were a couple of things that I thought might have been better placed. Like, I actually had to go and Google where to redeem a code on the dashboard because I just could not find it.
That was always so hard to find.
And that was even pretty hard.
But it is definitely more hidden now.
Yeah.
It took me a good 20-30 minutes to find it the first time.
Which is just ridiculous. To redeem a code, you should be able to just go, okay, it's going to be under the store somewhere. It should be visible right away. And even the voice command for that one was still like, you go, Xbox, redeem a code. No. Xbox, enter a code. No. It's just, there is a very specific phrase for that, but I can't even remember it now.
I feel like I should also note that I really hated the original UI as well. Okay. I really hated it.
So
I hate this one more. Oh. But I really hated the first one too.
Okay. Yeah, and I wish I could use my Kinect more, but I never. It's because, like, I'm always playing really late at night, and like my stairwell makes a perfect sound channel right upstairs. So, like, if I'm talking to my Kinect, my wife and kids can hear it while they're sleeping, and so it's like I didn't really use that functionality that much. It's nice every now and again, where especially if you're watching a movie or something. But so I still moved around with my controller, and as clunky as it was relatively functional. But I do appreciate the speed. What I did like. On a separate topic was I felt like 2015 was kind of the rise of the indies in as far as Xbox is concerned. PlayStation had been reaping the benefits of having a very developer-friendly program, and now I think the ID at Xbox program has really improved from the limitations they had in 2014 with parity clause, all that kind of stuff. But really pulling in all these new games, especially from a gamer score and achievement standpoint, we're getting a ton of gimmies, which is fantastic.
Yeah, as I think Granny would call it the rise of the shovelware. But
I was actually just about to say that. I'm just going to have to chime in with my negative self and say most of it's shovelware, because it really is. But, if you're okay with shovelware... See, if it wasn't such overpriced shovelware, I wouldn't be so against it. But when the shovelware is like $15, $20, like, it's too much.
Yeah. But I guess I appreciate some of it, because there's actually a few games that were indie games on PC or whatever that I sort of knew they're on my radar as that's a cool game, but of course I'm a Gamerscore person, so I'm never going to play it. They've now come out as on the Ideas Xbox program, and I've gone, awesome, I can actually play this. And I get Gamerscore too. It's like, sweet.
I do think it is worth sifting through the garbage to get the ones that really are good, though. Like, there are a lot of really good games. And one of my favorites, Oddworld, would not have been on the one at all if it weren't for the program. So I think it's definitely worth having it around. It's just that so much shovelware is on there, but it's kind of an all or nothing deal.
I think it also gives developers the opportunity to take risks and really push, maybe some interesting mechanics or concepts.
And I really like to see that, because it's been so long since we've seen something like that, like kind of in the early, the kind of 80s 90s tech boom. You saw all this risk happening, and then, like, especially with gaming, like there was a lot of stuff, like there were some miserable failures, but there were risks. People took risks, and sometimes it paid off. And then there was such a long period of time where that just didn't happen. And then now it's nice to be able to see, even though a lot of it's just quick cash in shovelware, there are some risks, and there are definitely some gems that come out of it. And it's nice to see something fresh from that.
Yeah, I mean, you can only do so many Call of Duties and Assassin's Creeds, and I mean, you're going to run out of numbers by the time,
exactly,
these things come around. So it's really great to get maybe an influx of, and you know what, maybe they lead to a AAA sequel if something has such a cool mechanic that.
Well, I guess you'd see that in something like Portal, the original Portal, and that was essentially just an add-on. But it became so popular and so groundbreaking in its own right that it led to things like Portal 2, which was a big AAA title. So it's
any other company would have more of those, but Valve can't count past 3.
Yeah,
count past
maybe
2.
They'll should see Portal 2 Episode 1 sometime next year.
I've also got problems with Valve. Just to note, if we want another rant at some point, I can rant about Valve.
Stop bringing up things.
P.S. Half-Life 3 confirmed.
There you go.
I do own the Half-Life 3 account on True Steam Achievements, by the way. I have an account called Half-Life 3.
Okay.
So when people search it, something does come up.
Okay, confirmed. You heard it here first. I would say it's generally been a good year for Xbox One. It's still lagging behind the PS4 in the sales features, but I think as a rule they have really started to try and catch up, at least in the eyes of sort of gamers, to the PS4.
I definitely think they're putting more emphasis on games. Before, when their TV watches you and all that, it's like nobody cared.
Yeah.
No, really, nobody cared about that. People only cared about the games that almost didn't exist.
Well,
but now
and I feel
I think they're starting to realize that's where the audience is, and they're not trying to be a $500 Apple TV. Because that seemed to be what they were trying to do, and everyone's like, I'll just buy a $50 stream box at the store, not a $500 Xbox.
And I feel like a lot of this PS4 stuff it comes from, I'm not going to say like an uneducated gamer, it just they haven't gotten past the stigma of being a less powerful device. Yes, the features on PlayStation 4 can, in theory, they operate faster than the Xbox One, and I think people just listen to that and they're like, well, it's a better system, let's just go with that one, and that they don't They don't
ignoring history too, which is
right.
The PS3 was a more powerful device than the Xbox 360. But could you say that the Xbox 360 was an unsuccessful device because of that, or that Xbox 360 sales suffered because of that? Of course not.
Absolutely.
Well, and it's the same thing too. It's like this like insignificant difference between these two consoles is never going to be noticed. It's like the people that buy a gaming computer with an 8 gig graphics card and 128 gigs of RAM. You're never going to use that. It's just simply not going to happen. You can have it, but you'd be just, the same. You could have a quarter of that and still never use it.
Well, and that's the thing is, it's also in degrees. It's like, okay, yeah, this can do something X frames faster than something else. But when you're talking, okay, this is something that runs at 60 frames per second and something else that runs at 62 frames per second, what's the real difference there?
Can you see those two
can
frames per
Can
second?
you see the difference? Does your screen even display quick enough to display those things? It's kind of like...
Probably not.
It just gets into ridiculously minor differences between the changes.
I guess a better comparison would be something like a 4K TV, where it displays a resolution higher than you can see at a normal distance. So why... unless you're sitting an inch away from the TV... doesn't matter if you have a 4K TV.
And the thing is that this has been the case even without talking about 4K, but even like 1080p versus 720p. I mean,
totally.
Unless you have a TV that is 5 foot across and you're sitting about like 20 meters away from it or something like that, you're not going to notice. You're not going to need something that big. And unless you're right up against it, which you shouldn't be anyway, because your field of view is just screwed, you're not going to notice the pixel difference. It's just,
Exactly. Well, but people just love to cling on to like specs and think specs.
Yeah, well, they're extremely easy to compare. That's the thing. You can compare the things.
Absolutely.
Whether they actually have any kind of value in realistic terms is the issue. And yeah, people love their specs, and people love to lord specs over other people, particularly if they've got the better apparently console. And
I did work for some time selling computers, and people would come in and all they cared about is how much RAM does it have. So people would come in, buy a laptop that had like 8 gigs of RAM, an i7 processor, and no graphics card. So you have this computer that you will
did Solitaire look great.
Never, ever get anywhere near like getting close to using what it has in it. But it's got an i7 and 8 gigs of RAM, so it must be good. It was bizarre, and you could never convince another. I tell them, like, you probably don't want that one if you're gaming, and they're like, no, it's got an i7. That's all I want.
It's got all the RAM I need.
Yes, okay, whatever. You can spend your money on it.
That's funny.
All right. Well, maybe we'll move on. I think this is probably mostly just because I've been in touch with it a lot myself. The TrueAchievements.com released a hell of a lot of new features this year.
Definitely.
There have been some really awesome features, things like the games collection, the stats info.
The period summaries.
Period summaries. That was great. There's a lot of things they've done this year. It's been a really good year for True Achievements as far as that goes. I think you guys probably feel the same.
Definitely. I love the collections. I mean, we're in the same boat with the huge backlog and stuff.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah, now just having a single point that I can go, okay, do I actually own this game that I've found for $4 in this store? And just go straight to George Rooms. Oh, I've already got it.
It's it's been getting worse lately too. I haven't organized my collection in ages, so I just check them off on True Achievements. I'm out looking. It's like, oh yeah, okay, I have that one. I don't need it.
Yep.
It's great. It's a great feature.
Another one, this is going back over to the Achievements Hounds. 2 years ago? 3 years ago? Oh, I can't even tell anymore. There was a challenge over there called the Potentially Endless Bean Dive, and the aim of that was basically
is that
to
still
see...
going?
Yeah, it is. I
remember when that started. That was
so the aim is that
years ago.
Every day people had to start a new game on their tag, and whoever outlasted everybody else on that was going to be the winner. That has never ended, living up to its name. It's still going. There's still 3 people who are still going strong, and they've gone over 1,000 days now. So just a kudos to those guys for continuing the struggle.
Seriously, that is ridiculous. That
is
is 1,000 games Like
1,000, yeah. Over
at least 1,000 games, because they would start more than one game in a day. But now it's just like, oh, here, okay, I better get my phone and find out what the new download is, and then hey, guess Fallout 4 came out. I'm gonna at least unlock one achievement in it, and for 1,000 days.
Yep.
Getting an achievement streak of 1,000 days is impressive. Like, let alone 1,000 different games.
Yeah, and these people already had games on their tags when they started, so it's not like they're starting fresh. So yeah, that's still going. There's still 3 people going on that. Who knows when or if it will ever end?
Ridiculous.
Guess we'll see. Maybe they'll run out of games eventually, but I don't know. With all the shovelware, probably
that's the
more
thing.
than one game released a day.
Yeah, you need to have 7 games a week. It's like 365 games a year. If they can keep up on that, then they'll be going forever. But you know,
yeah, that seems reasonable.
Who's older? Is somebody going to die of old age before? Anyway.
A couple of just going on achievements like that. There are a couple of things that happened this year. There were some world records set, not officially recognised as yet, but Sasha Morning set an Xbox 360 gamer score in 24 hours record. He earned over 23,000 gamer score on the Xbox 360 alone within 24 hours, which is a new record for solos. And my own team, I got a group of people together and we did a team effort for the Extra Life campaign, and we earned 21,000 gamer score within 24 hours on Xbox One, which I believe is also a new record. Both have yet to be ratified, but they're certainly out there. So it was a couple of good achievements, I think, this year. And in other news, the third person to reach 1 million gamer score is Celtic Force. He hit that on the 5th of September this year. And it was actually followed not too long after that by The Dauntless, who reached it on the 20th of December, so getting that in just before the end of the year. So we currently now have 4 people who have reached 1 million gamer score, and there's another 3 following close behind them, so they should all hit in 2016. So a special shout out to Redemption Denied, who we all know through the Achievement Hounds community. He's one of those 3 getting close to their 1 million, and it'll be great to see it when he does.
Absolutely, that's awesome. So it was quite we had a lot to talk about for 2015. Do we have quite as much to look forward to in 2016? What's on the horizon that we're really excited about? I hope it's more shovelware, because
we can expect lots of shovelware.
We can definitely.
I'm actually working on a shovelware game myself. I'm hoping to
make one. About that.
Yeah. I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that some more once it's further down the line. I'm hoping to have a green light page going soon. So we'll see.
All right. Well,
my very own shovelware.
Nice. I mean, based on that comment that Phil had, I would love to see the original Xbox with some backwards compatibility action, and
that would be great.
That would be amazing.
Man, that'd be so much fun.
Great.
There's a lot of gems on that.
You would think as well, with the power that the Xbox One has, that if they got the emulation down, you wouldn't really have too many problems running most of the OG Xbox software. So that would be really nice to see. But achievements as well. Oh. Ooh.
Yes, please.
Very cool.
Yes, please talk about remasters. I mean, that's
the average price of an original Xbox game is something like $2 to $3, with the most expensive being $40. And there are only, because I've been looking into collecting for the original Xbox for a while. It's because I've been going to thrift stores more and more and trying to find what the rare ones are, and there really aren't hardly any on the platform. Like, I think there are maybe 15 games that sell for more than $20, with the highest being $40, which is like Barbie Pony something.
Yeah, I mentioned
that. Like that. It's a Barbie game that was released like end of life and just didn't exist, basically.
Sure.
Kind of like current Xbox 360 Barbie.
I wonder if they actually bring in achievements for the Xbox OG, whether they'll have regional stacks or not.
That's a good point. I didn't even think about that.
That'd be very interesting.
Yeah,
I'm guessing probably not.
Well, I'm not so sure, because I would imagine that they would have had localized copies, and those localized copies are going to have a different game ID, and that's pretty much how the different stacks work on the Xbox 360 is that they've got a different game ID because they've had to release or burn a new master for that game.
See, my thinking with that, though, is I don't think the Xbox, like the original Xbox games, would even have a game ID. Because they're, well, I don't know, they did communicate online.
Yeah, they do.
They did.
They do. Yeah, they would have an ID of some sort. So, yeah, it's quite possible.
Yeah, it's possible.
That'll be interesting.
Now we're talking. I think the other thing that is interesting about 2016 is, and maybe we're still a year out, but we've got some VR really coming into view this year. Now, I don't think it's going to be in everybody's household, and I don't think a lot of people are going to get their hands on it, but I'm really interested in the prospects of having a VR experience and really, I mean, that's something, as much as I want to knock it, until I actually try it and put something on, I'd have a hard time saying I'm going to like it or not, because it's an experience I don't know how I feel about it. So I'm really interested to see how, Oculus and PlayStation VR, the Lighthouse and Valve or HTCs is coming along. Like, I don't know. And will they all get pushed? I mean, they're pretty lofty expectations, and my guess is they're going to be pretty pricey to come up with. So,
yeah, on that, I have actually had a little bit of experience with it was essentially a designed a game, so it's not something you download and play on the Xbox One, but it's somewhere you go to a place and you get the virtual headsets and play. And you would probably really like this as well, Brandon. It was called Zero Latency, and it's essentially a group game where you put on the helmets and you've got a gun and you fight off hordes of zombies.
Now you're talking.
And that was actually really
fun.
It was a lot of fun. We actually just went there for the they had sort of some early access demo sort of test runs, and we went there, and it was just basically 2 players, but it was probably one of the most intense things I've ever done.
For sure. and I think that's kind of going to be how these things are really going to take off, is that they'll become the new arcade. Someone will invest in getting those, and it'd be a destination. It'd be cool to go. I mean, laser tag is pretty much only cool if you go to a laser tag place. Like, playing around in your backyard, not as fun.
I would really love to see kind of like a rise of an arcade style kind of play with other people like setting again, because I really love arcades, but they just don't exist anymore.
Nope.
They really don't. And when you find a good one, it's too expensive. And the thing is too, like it's not only that they don't exist, it's that they're just not viable, like financially. It's so expensive.
They don't have the kids going in there pumping 20 cents or 25 cents into the machines anymore. It's just, it doesn't work.
Exactly.
Well, most of them now have to supplement with liquor sales, so they're bars.
Exactly. Well,
I mean, that's where you make your money.
Actually, in San Francisco, not far from me, there's actually a gaming bar that is kind of like that. You go in, they have consoles, they have gaming PCs, and you kind of go in, get drinks, and game. So it's kind of like that. It's not really an arcade, but it's kind of that same thing. But like you said, they only can survive because liquor sales. They can charge a ton of money for liquor and also have games.
Right. So there's that coming out, and then the one other thing, and again, I don't have any information on any of this, but we're getting to that point. Things are getting a little older, and I'm a little nervous we're going to start seeing servers go down. And so I'm kind of asking, are we
very
doomed
optimistic about this?
You think there's going to, because there's such a big user base in the 360s that we're going to stretch for a while?
Not because of the user base, but because of backwards compatibility. I'm very confident that at the very minimum, the core Xbox 360 services will persist at least through the life of the Xbox One, because it is completely dependent on cloud saves. So without those core services, you will never be able to retrieve your saves. So that means, at the very least, all of our offline games and achievements will still sync throughout the life of the one.
Yeah, I've got a feeling, I think I read somewhere that for the Xbox 360 matchmaking and online and achievement support, I mean, that's I think Microsoft's plan on that is it's still going to be going on for another 10 years. I mean, they won't be turning those off anytime soon.
No, I think other developers.
Almost hardly any developers use their own servers. And like the vast majority, I've watched this because I've done some bridging and you can see who's communicating with who. And almost every game I've checked is a Microsoft server. It's this.
That's good.
Yeah, and
so it's only the EAs with their... Yeah.
There are a few exceptions, but the vast majority are all Microsoft servers that I think they're kind of an all or nothing deal. Like they're all going to be up or they're all going to be down. I don't think they're going to start, they're not just going to be like, oh, well, Quake 4, you're 10 years old now, so you're done. I think it's going to be...
They subscribe to a matchmaking service, and the service provides those particular tools for the game to set people up and to play against each other.
Exactly.
And that's not going to go away.
Well, and once the match is running, there's minimal... I'm pretty sure there's minimal communication with any kind of server other than for stats.
It really just...
Yeah, it really just groups you together, throws you off, and keeps the leaderboard. I don't think there's too much maintenance or anything required with them either, which is good.
Well, good. Then it don't feel so bad. All right. Yeah, hey, 2016's looking okay.
I'm pretty optimistic about the servers. I mean, being said,
do you even know the meaning of the word optimism?
Right. that being said, though,
here we go.
It doesn't hurt to stay ahead of the game. So,
yeah,
got to get Graw finished.
That is true.
Yeah.
So speaking of games, what games are we looking forward to? Terry, gonna get anything that is on your radar for 2016?
Yeah, I might surprise a few people, but I'm not really looking at any of the big AAAs. I'm looking at one, but I'm not really looking at the AAAs for this year. There's a game called Below, which I've sort of had my eye on for a little while. There was actually a game, I don't know if you've ever heard of it, it was on iPad and possibly other platforms, but it was a game called Sword and Sorcery. And that was a great little sort of indie game, and I really loved the music for it, and it kind of sucked me in. Same people are involved with Below. I don't know if you've seen any of the sort of footage of it, but it's a really pixelated kind of 8-bit kind of style look. You wouldn't think that it'd be that great, but it's actually, I expect this will be an awesome game once it comes out.
I felt like it looked really crisp.
Yeah, but I think it's still got that kind of pixely kind of look. But yeah, anyway, it's that same developer, that same kind of feel, and also the same music. I think it's Jim Guthrie who does the soundtrack on that, and it's really nice music that I quite like and fits the mood perfectly. Another game, I really loved the original Mirror's Edge. It didn't quite get the love it deserved, I think, at the time. So I'm really looking forward to the sort of the do-over of Mirror's Edge.
Yeah, right.
So it's probably the biggest one I'm looking forward to. There are sort of the other ones coming out, which I'll get to. One of those is on your list. I'll talk about that then. We Happy Few. This is a kind of an indie title that I sort of looked up recently again. It's set in a 1960s dystopian environment, and if you know anything about me, that's the kind of game environment that I quite like.
That's right up your alley.
Yep.
Big Bioshock guy.
Yeah, so We Happy Few really pushes a lot of buttons there. I guess the only things that might go against it is it's from the same developer who brought out Contrast.
Yeah.
Now, Contrast, great idea and concept, didn't quite execute very well. So I suspect it's been a few years since that game came out. We Happy Few, some of the initial sort of early gameplay that I've seen on it looks really good. So hopefully that's going to be a quite an interesting game when it comes out.
And like you said, it's you listen to the concept of We Happy Few, and it's exactly that high concept, really interesting. Now, do they have the clout to pull it through?
Yeah, so
I'm on the same boat.
Yeah, there would be an honourable mention as well. There was a game, it's an old PC game called Pathologic. It was released in Russia to great acclaim back in the 90s, I think. But it's actually getting a remake. It's kind of a thriller / noir horror kind of game, and it kind of plays in sort of a real time over like 12 days in this village. It's getting a remake, and I'm actually kind of looking forward to that one as well, just because I haven't experienced the original, and it's gotten really it's got a really big sort of following for that type of game.
So is that sort of a Dead Rising style where you have the clock and it counts down?
No,
Or
I
is
don't
it-
think so. I think it's the people are there's no sort of actually it might be a little bit like a clock going down. So basically you've got real time. So you've got your day where you're awake and you go and interact with people, but other things are still happening at the same times, and you sort of got to.
okay.
Yeah, I think there's actually also 3 protagonists, and you can switch between them at any point to do different things, and they can sometimes interact with each other and that kind of thing. So it's a really interesting sounding game, and I'm quite looking forward to the remake.
Cool. Like you're in that. What about you,
Sounds
Crandy? Do you
cool.
like games?
Not really. I'm kind of a pessimist when it comes to new games. Given the situation lately, I don't like to support many of them. That being said, though, in 2015 there were a couple betas I played which caused me to not buy games. I did, however, recently get an invite code to the Doom Alpha, and I was really impressed with it. Even at the super early stage it was in, it was spot on. Like it was everything I wanted it to be. It was a ton of fun, and I will definitely be getting Doom on release.
Interesting.
Wow.
It looked great. It played great. It's everything in the Doom that I wanted for a long time. Because I've been kind of following Doom 4 since it kind of started, like way back, and then it kind of disappeared and popped up again and disappeared, and then became this Doom that is not Doom 4. I don't know what this Doom is. I don't really care. It plays awesome. So I'm really looking forward to Doom. I
Cool.
think there's a lot of potential in the multiplayer for that game, as well as the single
Maybe
player
they'll-
too. I
And
hope.
they'll have leaderboards, of course. So got to get those leaderboard
Well,
achievements.
I would love a leaderboard achievement in Doom. Be fantastic.
Now
How
you're
about you,
talking.
Brandon?
The games I'm looking forward to. I think the biggest one I'm looking forward to, and I'm a little nervous because of the development cycle, but Quantum Break. I loved Alan Wake and that style and how that played. I'm a big fan of Remedy, and I can't wait to see what they come up with here with Quantum Break.
Yeah,
Some of the
that was
initial
the-
things look really cool.
Yeah, that was the other game that I sort of almost put on my list, but I'm quietly optimistic about Quantum Break. I really want it to be good, but I don't think I've seen quite enough of how it all will all play together to really make a call on whether I'm too excited about it. I don't want to get too excited about it and be disappointed. If you know what I mean.
Right. The expectations are really high.
Yeah, and I'm on the same boat as well. I really like what Remedy do, and I really liked Alan Wake. So I really want Quantum Break to be good.
Now that being said, are we even sure this is still coming out in 2016? I mean, they've pushed it back into 2016, but
That's
can we?
the thing as well. I think
is
they've
it-
got a bit of a habit of pushing things
Yeah.
back. So yeah,
I think what is
we'll
it?
see.
April, early April, end of March. I think that's the date today. I'd be willing to put money that it's not the date it actually is
Well,
released.
and
but
there's hardly been anything to come out on that game so far, hasn't there?
Yeah, there's been a couple of sort of gameplay
Like a
features
couple-
and
Since
that's about it. I think.
Gamescom, or was it Gamescom? When did there was like the last big thing they talked about? I think was Gamescom, where they showed a little bit more of the TV
Yeah,
show.
there wasn't actually anything at E3, was there?
No, they specifically said, and I didn't expect there to be because it's a company that is out of Europe. I mean, like Gamescom is in their backyard. I mean that just made more sense to
yeah.
save it. So yeah, that was the one that the big announcements came at Gamescom, and they really, I mean, that's when they reintroduced all the characters. I mean, they took the placeholder actors out and put the real actors in, and they showed a lot of the media stuff, which it's like, well, okay, thanks, but can you show me some more gameplay? And what's unfortunate is the gameplay they showed looked a lot like the gameplay they initially showed, and so it wasn't dramatically different enough where you're like, oh yeah, and look what's happening here. But that being said, like that bridge sequence that they showed, I don't know if you guys remember that gameplay with the bridge getting hit by a boat. Like that was just fantastic.
It was a great set piece, but again, that's a demo for
Yes.
public release, and you kind of wonder if that's going to be representative of the entire game or whether that's just one big set piece that you see.
Absolutely.
So this is why I'm a bit wary, because I don't want to get too excited about things like that, these amazing things that they're showing, because that may not be representative of the final product.
Absolutely, and that's Remedy's MO. They put a ton of painstaking effort into everything that they release to for people to consume. And so, I mean, that's why this has taken such a long development cycle, is they put so much time into polishing things up. So, yes, that's absolutely a possible pitfall. Another game I'm really looking...
That actually reminded me, with the uncertain release dates, there is another game I'm looking forward to that's probably not going to come out in 2016, but you never know, is Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, yeah.
Really
CD
love
Projekt
the concept. Love the concept. It's from CD Projekt Red. I have confidence that it's going to be cool. Syndicate was like one of my favorite games of the last generation, and it will never get a sequel. So I'm hoping maybe that can fill the void.
Sure.
But there's been no news on that in probably 2 years now. So
well, no, the
I
news
doubt it's
was
2016.
The news was the entire Witcher team has moved onto Cyberpunk.
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
2070. That
That's
just
very
came
cool.
out like a couple weeks ago in December, but that's not saying much. I mean, Witcher 3, there was a lot of resources that went into Witcher 3, and
Oh, yeah.
something tells
Well,
me I'm on your boat. I don't think it's coming out in 2016.
Yeah, and I don't mind.
No,
if it's
absolutely
going to be
not.
good, give it
Absolutely.
all. Like with the great reception of Witcher 3, I have full confidence that they can do a really good job on that. If both
Yeah.
the them as a developer and whoever owns Cyberpunk license also is not in a big rush and
Right.
wants something good, I really think that it will be good, and I am looking forward to that one.
So speaking of games that might not come out in 2016, I'm not entirely convinced that ReCore is coming out, but I like Kenji Inafune, and I feel like just when I see this game, it reminds me of old school Zelda, and I hope it's just moving the cores in between different robots, doing different things. It's kind of got that item based progression locking, where you need to maybe get this chassis so you can reach higher ledges, or do this because you're stronger or whatever. Love those types of games. I think Darksiders 2 did that. The whole Darksiders series did that pretty well.
It's been a while since I've seen a game, like, now that you bring that up, it's been a while since I've seen a game that really does that.
Right.
Because
Right.
definitely, like, so, like, A Link to the Past was like, that was huge. That was like the
Yeah.
whole game. So you had to,
Absolutely.
you had to find this to get to this dungeon, and you find something next in that dungeon. Which was kind of fun. It was kind of a puzzle-based progression too. Because you had to figure it out.
Ocarina of Time was probably the one I'm most familiar with that has
Yep.
a similar kind of thing.
Yep. And
Yeah,
so that's
it definitely had
when
that
I
too.
see ReCore, that's what I think. So I don't know if I'm just misassociating and I'm getting excited for no reason, but if that's the core, then no pun intended. If that's the core, then I'm really excited. But that I think there's some possibility there. Another one that, again, I'm not entirely sure I like boss rush games, but just to see and watch Cuphead, I think is going to be a treat. I'm shocked by the animation and how just unique and interesting it looks. And so, I mean, even if I don't necessarily like the gameplay, like as a spectacle, I think it's going to be worth my time. And I think my kids will like it too, unless it's just so brutally difficult that I get frustrated. But,
Yeah, well, I've got a feeling. I was on the True Achievements podcast. Rich, I think, got some early play on at Gamescom, and he said basically, I think, is that it is pretty much brutally difficult.
Yeah.
It's one of those,
Kind of Devil May Cry style games with the difficult to pick up but has a really high skill cap kind of deal.
Yeah, I guess so. I sort of thought bullet hell when I kind of saw some of the footage,
Oh, okay.
but it does certainly look quite. It's quite a gorgeous looking game, but I'm not sure it's quite going to be my cup of tea for playing.
Yeah, I'm curious. But and then the final game that's on my list, and I just thought of this one, is Thimbleweed Park. This was announced at E3, and I loved the old Maniac Mansion on the Nintendo.
Yeah.
And this
Yeah,
game...
I played it on the Commodore 64 back in the day.
Oh my gosh! And this game looks just like it, and it's your classic point and click,
Is this the one that was the Kickstarter one? The original developers of Maniac Mansion were getting back together again, or something like that. Was that one?
No, I think I think that was Day of the Tentacle reboot. Wasn't it?
I thought
Maybe
it
it was
actually.
this.
I thought it was a Maniac Mansion, like they're getting back to the real core of the Maniac Mansion team.
Could be. I don't remember that being a Kickstarter though, but it very well could have been.
Maybe I misremembered, but yeah. Anyway, so go on.
I didn't. If it was, I didn't support it, but I definitely will buy it when it comes out because, like, when I saw the footage, even the character animations, I mean, they look like the Maniac Mansion characters, and I just so fondly remember putting that hamster in the microwave and hearing that MIDI splat, and then I felt obligated to go show it to the brother and be like, yeah, here's your gerbil, sorry, and then he just outright killed you in the game. I mean, they fixed that like in future releases because it was just brutal. I mean, you couldn't put the hamster in anymore, but like typically when you get caught, you'd get put in jail. Not if you showed him your exploded hamster. He would murder you.
Yeah,
I don't think I ever
I'm
played
like,
that game.
That is fantastic.
It sounds like I need to play Maniac Mansion.
it's a classic. Yeah, get the very original non-cut version,
Yeah.
and some of the things in there
Absolutely.
are brutal.
Just great.
It's also brutally difficult too.
Yes.
Well,
some
I
of
mean
the
that's
puzzles
kind
in
of a
just
given
kinda
for
like-
that era of games.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, now I bet if you went back, it wouldn't be that bad with like a walkthrough and stuff. But like that was the days when the
Yeah,
internet
there was no
didn't
internet.
exist, and
I mean,
so
there was, but like
right.
nothing like
Yeah,
now.
but you're buying magazines to get walkthroughs for games if you're lucky. So
or you had a group of buddies over, and you're like, God, what
Do
what
you
do I
have
do
the
here? What do you
power?
think? And
Nintendo Power.
so yeah, that was fantastic. Now, all right, those are some games that we're looking forward to. But what exactly are we going to do gaming wise? I mean, so here's my goals for 2016. I said I wanted to do better than I did in 2015. So here we go. I want to complete 120 games. Now I'm at 83 completions, and I think that's all DLC stuff too. Like, not that I want to include DLC, but I feel like obligated to do it. So in 2015, I completed 26 games, and those range from retail games to Connect Fun Labs. So there's a huge mix in there. So that's why I made my goal a little loftier and went for 37 games, because a few of those I do, as a secondary goal, want to complete all of the Connect Fun Labs. I only have 3 left. And so I feel like I need to get those out of the way. That was my goal last year, and I failed. I did 4 last year, but I couldn't finish the last 3 because they're a pain in the butt, and I don't want to do them. And I don't want to unravel the wire from my Kinect on the 360. But I need to buckle down and finish those. The other thing I want to finish, Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor. I got to get that Trials. I was there. I had it in my grasp. And from what I hear, the Bright Lord DLC is not quite as difficult. So I should be getting that completion. And Terrigan, you had me beat. Of course, you didn't do Taken King, but I want to complete Destiny.
it was a very satisfying feeling getting the complete the raid without dying.
Yeah, but you did that legit. I just tagged along with the group with Spec Op 3 and his Grim Raiders. So that was fantastic. I just got to watch them raid for 7 minutes. But I do need to level up my Titan and my Warlock. Those are kind of the challenging things. I suppose you can say that hard mode raid is going to be a challenge, but the key is to get these done before the next set of achievements comes out. It says I'm not entirely sure I'm going to re-up for a third go, depending on how this year goes. And then the other things I want to complete this year is I wait until all the episodes are out before playing these games, and unfortunately, it gets really hard to sit down and say I'm going to devote 10 to 12 hours to finish these stories, so I'm going to catch up on my episodic stories. I've got Minecraft, Walking Dead Season 1 and 2 on the Xbox One, Wolf Among Us, Tales from the Borderland, and Life is Strange. I need to finish those games. So if I did all those, that puts me at 11 games, which means I still need then to match my last year's of an extra 26. So I felt like that was okay. And then as far as like the stats, improving on 2015. So those improvement numbers, and then, of course, I round them so they look really nice. I want to hit 6,500 achievements. I want to hit 150,000 gamer score, and I want to hit 250,000 TA. Those are my 3 highlight pieces, all of which are better than my rate in which I did in 2015. So
Okay.
we'll see what happens.
Yeah, what's your gamer score on at the moment? Because you just clocked your 100K.
109.
109. Okay, so about 41,000.
It's pretty doable.
So I did 36,
Yeah.
almost
Definitely.
37, and I need to get to over 40.
Yeah, it's definitely doable.
It's
a
absolutely
shame-
doable. It's just
It's a shame you're not joining the GTA SC this year, because
God,
that
no.
was a real push.
That was a huge push when I had to do those garbage games. But
Well, for my own goals, I sort of keep it fairly simple this year, because I did have a lot of goals last year to beat certain people and this and that and start a lot of games, and I decided just to keep it pretty simple. I want to hit 350,000 gamer score this year. I hit my 275, as I mentioned earlier. I also noticed that a colleague, AHP the 90, set a goal to reach 350,000 true achievement score. So I kind of set a off-the-cuff goal to race him to the 350. So I'll race to 350 gamer score, he'll race to 350 TA, and we'll see who gets there first. I also want to reach 500,000 TA this year, which is about on line with the 350k gamer score. So that would basically roughly equal my output this year, and I think I'd had a pretty good year, so I'm not aiming to push too much harder. The last thing I want to do is a couple of years ago I did a bean dive, and I did a special bean dive where I tried to get as many of the sort of rarest games, as rare being games that aren't on TA with many players, trying to get as many of those onto my card as possible, and I wanted to try and do that again this year, so probably looking to dive a good couple of hundred games which all have less than 300 players on TA, and we'll see how we go.
I feel like I should do a dive this year too. I have 89 unopened games.
You're a lightweight.
I did a tally, and it's like I feel like I should just get those on my card.
See, you
such
gotta
a
get to the
lightweight.
point where you're like me, where you have like 300 games started and 700 games unstarted.
Yeah, right.
I've got over 1,000 games started and probably another 300 unstarted. It's just ridiculous.
That's crazy.
It's embarrassing.
Anyway, I don't usually
Randy,
like
anything
to
you
set,
want to do this year?
I don't usually like to set goals in a time frame. I have long ongoing goals that I'm always working on, but for a goal that I want to do this year is finish Gra. I think it's doable. I think I could even finish Gra this month, but we'll see.
Wow.
I don't know how long it's going
What
to
the
take.
hell? What will we talk about if you finish Graw?
I don't know. How we can talk about my rants. We can replace Gra with rants.
Ah, yes. Okay.
There you go.
We could even combine the two, maybe, for a special Gra
The
episode.
Graw rant.
Right?
No, I don't hate
Fantastic.
Gra. I don't hate it. I kind of do, but I mostly don't.
How long have you been working on that game now?
Oh, since before I moved to the
10
US.
years, right?
Well, that's when I started it, but it was the first game I played online on my Xbox. It came with my first Xbox. But as far as like actively working on it, it was probably the fall before I moved to the US. So 3.5 years on and off.
Okay.
Something like that. Yeah.
That is
Three
obscene.
to 3.5 years on and off. I mean, this isn't like super intense the whole time, but still, it's a long time to be working on one game.
Yeah.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is. And
Absolutely.
if you get it done this month, you won't know what to do with yourself.
I know, it's crazy.
Everything would open up.
Exactly.
Anyway,
I
all right, well,
won't
we
have an
should,
excuse anymore.
That's right. We should probably get to finishing this show up. We've got a few more features here that are going to be kind of recurring segments on the show. So let's move into our closing features segment. And the first one up is our Gamerscore Boot Camp. It's hosted by none other than Terrion himself. Take it away.
Today's Gamerscore Bootcamp is Laser Life. Laser Life costs $15 US and is a mildly rhythm-based action game. The gameplay is this. Imagine you are flying down a tunnel with invisible walls and objects flying past you, and you have 2 lasers, one for each stick, that you can move around to pick up these objects as they fly past you. The game concept is that these objects are fragments of memories that you need to collect. The game has 12 memory sequences, which are divided into 4 stages each, of which the first is the most important as far as achievements go. You can get 500 points within 10 minutes in this game, the next 300 within 2 hours, and the final 200 points might take a little while depending on your skill level. Some basic tips for this game. Firstly, set the game to easy. There are no difficulty-based achievements in this game, so there is no real reason to not play this on easy. The first stage of each memory, you only really need to worry about 6 directions, which are the diagonals and straight to the sides. You need to press the triggers to collect memories, generally in time with the song that is playing. The second stage will add the center, so non-directional, but removes the trigger presses, which arguably makes this a little bit easier. The center of the circles you collect will change color if you're in the right spot to collect them. The third stage is simply avoidance, dodge the red barriers that fly at you. Very easy. The fourth stage is just wiggling the joysticks around to build up your combo. In the first memory sequence, at the start of the game, aim to hit 100% of everything in the first 2 stages and avoid all the red barriers in the third stage. If you manage this, you will unlock 500 points. If you play through the game, aim to hit 100% only in the first part of every sequence for the final achievement. The second and third stages don't count for that. The stage will say X of X memory sequences collected at the end. If you choose to play through the game without getting 100% on each stage 1, note which ones you do get 100% on because the game does not record this anywhere. There are 12 sequences in total that you need to 100% for the final achievement. And that rounds up today's Gamerscore Bootcamp.
All right, thanks, Tarragon, for that awesome Gamerscore Bootcamp. Now let's move into our next featured segment with Crandy. What should we look out for with Knobs and Discos?
All right, so this week we've got one knob. We've got Overlord Fellowship of Evil. The weapon collector achievement appears to be unobtainable. There's a few people discussing in the comments saying that they've earned or found all the weapons and have not unlocked the achievement. The game has been out for a couple of months now with 0 winners. Looks like that one's going to be unobtainable. Discos, there's a big one there this week. Guitar Hero Live. Patch was released recently that broke the level 20 achievement on both the 360 and the One. I've also heard reports that the same thing happened on PlayStation, so that also affects the achievement in the One version of Guitar Hero Live for earning all the other achievements. So if you haven't unlocked level 20 yet, that one's out of luck for you too. I'm hoping that one gets fixed, because that affects me on both versions and one of my goals. NBA Live 15, the early bird achievement is, it appears to be discontinued. No more challenges are being published, or it doesn't seem like any more are being published. So without a challenge, you're going to be unable to get that achievement. So unless EA decides to put a few more challenges out, that one is done. The last one is the Every Street United app. All the achievements are discontinued in that one, and the app has been delisted. So that just seems like they're done with Every Street United, and all the achievements went along with it. There's some glitches. The Star Wall achievement values that were kind of glitched out, where a lot of them had very high values and most of them were 0 pointers. All of the 0 pointers now got assigned their proper values, so that game is not so weird anymore. And that concludes Knobs and Discos for the week.
Nice. And then the final segment I'm going to bring over from a show I had done in the past. I'm quite the zombie fan, and so I'm bringing back my Zombie News Corner. Now, I'm going to take kind of a pass this week because we talk so much about 2015. But what I do want to mention, and this is just super excited for me, is so not this first part of news. So a month ago, my father-in-law passed away very unexpectedly, and it was a huge bummer, and it sucks. And, of course, he loved Christmas. Like, he would spend a ton of money on Christmas because he just loved giving to his kids and his family and all that stuff. Well, we've been going through his house. He's also an avid antique collector, all sorts of stuff like that. And so we've got to go through his house and look through his belongings. Well, I feel like this was a gift for me. Of course, it was not in anywhere that would indicate that for me, but being a person who believes that he's looking out for me in the afterlife, he pointed this to me when I was cleaning his house. It is an unopened machete. My God, I've always wanted a machete. I think this is like one of the best, aside from a naginata, this is like the best zombie prevention or weapon available. This thing is like, I'm holding it right now. It's fantastic. It's like a 3-foot long blade with a saw on the back. It is heavy as hell. I mean, man, if I really got into some zombie issues, I am set. This thing is fantastic. So
got your zombie plan set up right there.
I do. You know, I'm gonna set up a little thing in my my spare room here. I'm gonna put all my zombie paraphernalia, and I'm gonna have this machete. I might use it to like clear brush or chop off branches, and like I'm sure that's why he got it.
Who uses machetes for that sort of stuff?
You know, like because it was like with his hunting stuff. So like it was like he had his bow and arrow, and he had like some deer hunting knives and stuff like this. But an unwrapped machete. I mean, come on, like that's for me, right? Because he's not gonna put in a gift because my wife's gonna be pissed. But I'm like, well, I mean, I asked the other brothers, they didn't want it, so I think it would be. It'd be rude of me not to take it.
So what are you going to name it? That's the important thing.
Oh, that's a good call. I didn't even think about it.
You need to get it. You need to get it etched in the blade, like in.
I do.
Like on the Vietnam assault
boy,
rifles.
you know, and I'm going to have to go do some research because I'll have to tie it back to my father-in-law as in honor of his passing. I will come up with a clever name for my machete. Seriously, this thing is so cool. I love it. So we'll get into some real zombie news as the year goes on, but I wanted to just let you know that it's coming, and I'm a fan of zombies, so I hope you're not totally dead with it. You might get some fun stuff like this where I talk about machetes.
I see what you did there.
You might get actual news. You might get some other random stuff, but we'll see where this ends up going. And with that, I think it's about time we wrap up the show. So, hey, thank you so much for listening. We really hope you enjoyed this because I enjoyed recording it. This is fantastic. And
that was a good show.
I agree.
This is a good first show of the year.
Great start to 2016. If you, as a listener, would love to hear more of these shows and help us out, giving us a rating on iTunes. We're on iTunes or Google Play, or wherever you listen to the podcast. That is so helpful. It doesn't cost you anything. Just rate us, review us. I hope you like it. I hope we get 5 stars. I hope we get triple thumbs up. I don't even know. But that would help us get the word out about the show, let more people listen to it, and hopefully they appreciate it as well. You can always come to us and check out our website, zed2zed.com. That's where you can find all the show notes. Terrigan had done an amazing job on the first episode show notes. Second episode, I'm sure, is going to be fantastic. Everything's there that you need. All the sites, all the links, everything with achievements. It's fantastic. And then, if you want to get in contact with us and have a comment, please use Twitter at zed2zed.com, or zed2zed.com. That's the website. Yes. Twitter, zed2zed, ZEDTOZED. You know what? We need achievement nominations for the sponsors. Be it hard, easy, funny, whatever. Love to hear from you on that. If you have any questions, comments,
even
please.
Things for Cranny to rant about.
Bingo.
Yeah, you can do
if
that.
You want to set him off. We'll let him know. Yeah. And then hopefully we can flame people's pages with all the ranting. Or if Twitter's not your thing, email us. You can get us at contact@zed2zed.com. There's also a leaderboard set up over at trueachievements.com. So just look up Z2Z in the leaderboard search, and we can use that to send out mass private messages if something really cool is happening on the community or the show or whatever.